Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if neglected Naruto banished esdeath akame gakill. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by SCARFACE 101, link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1. Prologue. No. This timeline is all wrong too. It's that same damn dystopia. Furthermore, the child of prophecy was an orphan and had no one growing up, so why does he neglect his children? He even sent a damn clone to his daughter's birthday instead of going himself. Screamed a figure in a white featureless void. She paced back and forth in anger as she looked at the current timeline. She needed to find a way to get the right ending. Konoha needed to be brought to its knees, Yuzu must be revived or at the very least properly avenged, the cycle that her grandchildren began must end. But still, every single time, it didn't work. Naruto was the same gullible idiot that was gay for that Uchiha brat and would bend over backwards to forgive somebody for even the most heinous crimes, even forgiving Obito whom deserved no forgiveness. It was all a mess and she needed desperately to get it right, and by damn Kagaya Otsutsuki isn't going to stop until the threat of her corrupted body and the cycle of reincarnation is put to rest. She couldn't directly interfere in the material world, at least not for long periods of time, before she was forced to retreat back to limbo. She needed to add something new to the timeline. Something that could show Naruto that the world wasn't the kind of forgive and forget that he made it put to be. Then all at once an idea filled her head, as though a light bulb had clicked on and was beginning to shine. This time the timeline may yet work. She just needed to collect the right people. Elsewhere. MMMF. Coming to the material world is so taxing on me. Muttered the rabbit goddess. Fortunately she had spread herself along this timeline so that she may be quick on collecting the kind of people she needs. Killers. All across this period of time she was standing over or near several persons of interest. Her copies all smiled and spoke in apparent unison towards the deceased they wished to collect. Shield. Bullet. Chelsea. Amaterasu. Mine. Lubbock. Leon. Esdeath. Magenta. Akame. I have something special in mind for you. With a snap of her fingers, she immediately harvested their spalls. They would prove useful in their next lives. In Konoha. Some weeks after the Kyuubi attack. There. The timeline is reset. Now to give these new children to some good homes. With a snap of her fingers she distributed the children across Konoha, except Magenta and Esdeath, she had something special planned for them. As for the living Tigu, Amaterasu, she decided to hold on to him till a later date. One by one, the newly reincarnated children and their Tigus were left at the doorsteps of various people and clans. Shield was left at the Yamanaka estate. Bullet was left at the home of Jonin Taijutsu specialist Might Guy. Chelsea was left at the home of the Nara clan. Mine was left at the Hirano family's home. Lubbock was left at the home of the Saratobis. Leon was left at the Inyazuka clan estate. The utter irony didn't escape Kagaya. Finally, Akame was left at the home of Kurenai, the Genjutsu mistress. But that done, all the pieces were in place. She could only hope that the child of prophecy could be set on the correct path this time. 15 years later. Graduation day was on the horizon. In exactly 1 week the students of the academy would be granted entry to the tests that would allow them the opportunity to become genin. And one Naruto Uzumaki was hoping to be paired with his friends. During the course of his 3rd year at the academy, he finally made friends who didn't judge him or push around or make fun of him. More than once they stuck up for him whenever he was falsely accused of something he didn't do and had a clear alibi. Akame, Leon, Bullet, Shield, Mine, Lubbock and Chelsea. Those were their names and they were some of his best friends. Akame often came off as cold and emotionless, but in reality was a natural-born stoic. On occasion she would display a softer side whenever Naruto was beaten in a spar with Sasuke. She was also a food lover and a talented cook. Shield was exceptionally clumsy and had been banned from working at the Yamanaka flour shop after an incident involving a Venus flytrap and this new hormone-enriched plant food that was quickly deemed unstable. This didn't stop Shield from doing her best in her studies and prove she can be a good kunoichi. Both Naruto and Shield often cheered each other on at times as well. Bullet was, in short, the kind of guy who swung for the other team and doesn't deny it. He trains hard and has an unbeaten win streak in class bars. The only reason Sasuke has an unbeaten streak is because he and Bullet are never paired together in a match. Bullet insisted that Naruto refer to him as Aniki or handsome, to which the blonde called him by Aniki. Bullet occasionally helped Naruto train every now and again in Taijutsu, but rumors circulated that Bullet's adoptive father is a bigger oddball than Bullet and his pompadour hairstyle. Leon could best be described as a wild child. She was a bit of an outcast in the Inyazuka clan due to her primarily associating with felines. But that didn't stop her from learning the Inyazuka's taijutsu techniques. She often flirted with and teased Naruto. Often trying to rub his whisker marks. She sometimes made promises to let him grope her quickly developing boobs in exchange for letting her touch said whisker marks. He hadn't taken up on her offer yet, but at times he seriously considered it. He wanted to wait till after graduation before exploring in his interest of the fairer sex. And it was quite often the two would engage in either prank wars or would give the academy teachers hell. Out of all his friends, Naruto interacted with Lubbock the least. Not for lack of trying, but Lubbock was often doing his own thing, like trying to figure out a woman's 3 sizes or try to find the perfect hiding spots at the hot springs. Though on occasion the two would skip class together and good off, talking about what women they might be interested in. Naruto made some pretty bold choices. Like the infamous Anko Mitarashi. Not even Lubbock was brave enough to peek on her. He didn't want to be castrated by snake venom. Mine is easily described as the spoiled princess, and she will openly admit it. It is no secret that Mibukki Haruno, her adoptive mother spoiled mine to no end, buying her clothes and the like, but mine had decent tastes and would usually get battle kimonos designed for Kunoichi. There were some brands which were both practical and fashionable. She also had a pretty decent IQ in her head and she knew how to use it. She often declares Naruto as her property in order to both take away her sister Sakura's favorite punching bag and to tease the blonde as well. Although he at first took offense at being called property, she would sometimes take him on shopping trips with her enormous allowance and would buy him stuff he needed like groceries, shinobi supplies, clothes and the like. She often teased him for being financially indebted to her, but he knew she wasn't entirely serious about that. Delcy was his unofficial tutor. She helped him out a lot on the academic material he didn't understand. She was the first to notice the unfair status quo when it came to test distribution. More specifically, she took note that most students got the same tests. Naruto however was slipped a more advanced test, while Sasuke Uchiha was given a significantly easier test with either fewer questions or easy multiple choice questions. Despite the normal stereotype of Nara women being bossy and bullheaded, she was the best of both worlds. Lackadaisical and joking at times, and strict and refuses to give in at others. Plus she often exploited Naruto's weakness for ramen and sweets to motivate him. These were his best friends. And he'd love nothing more than to be paired with at least one of them. He opened the door to his classroom and then grrrrrrr. Snarled a fearsome face in front of the blonde, the whiskered teen yelped and fell to the floor. Bullet. What the hell? You scared the crap out of me. The muscular teen laughed while rubbing the back of his head and replied sorry about that Naruto-kun. I was practicing my game face for the final class bar on graduation. Did I scare you that badly? At that question the blonde yelled hell yeah. I thought you were the Shinigami you bastard Aniki. Awesome. That means my game face is almost ready. Now I just need to look more terrifying to make Sasuke jump out of his skin. Spoke Bullet with a chuckle as he extended his hand out to help his friend up. The blonde smiled and accepted the helping hand and spoke with a grin, maybe you should try rolling your eyes into your head to show the whites of your eyes. Maybe add in some frothing of the mouth. The black-haired teen took on a thinking pose, then gave a thumbs up, I think I might try that. It may yet make those fangirls pee themselves. The blonde sweat dropped at that and spoke in a deadpan tone that wouldn't take much to do. All you'd have to do is spread a rumor that Sasuke is already dating another girl and they'll freak out. What's that about Sasuke dating somebody? Asked Leon with a toothpick in her mouth. At this Bullet answered nothing. Naruto-kun was telling me how to make the fangirls relieve their bladders involuntarily. Really? Cool. I wanna see this. Spoke the feline female with a feral grin. The blonde boy thought for a moment, then snapped his fingers with a wicked grin. Just yesterday Chelsea was giving him some cram lessons for graduation week and she was eating ramen right in front of him, Ichiraku ramen, to encourage him to work faster. And he hated it when she teased him with his favorite ramen. He looked at the clock for a brief moment and spoke wait for it, his two friends nodded in understanding and began counting down with their fingers. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and bam, two female figures were lodged in the doorframe, revealing it to be Sakura and Ino Yamanaka, once again trying to compete with each other over Sasuke. Too predictable. Spoke the three friends in unison, knowing that the fangirls were both predictable as they were dumb. The two squealing girls were kicked inside by their respective adoptive sisters. Honestly, don't you two have anything better to do than compete over an emo with the emotional range of a teaspoon? Spoke one mind with a frown. Sheila adjusted her glasses and spoke with a small smile. Papa says that you should focus more on your training, Ino-chan. You can worry about boys later. The two went unnoticed by the fangirls as they continued to bicker. It's no use. Sheila and mine mumbled together. Naruto patted them both on the shoulders and whispered, I heard a rumor Sasuke might be dieting. He was cut off when Sakura got into his face and screeched Sasuke-kun is dating someone. Who? Who's the bitch? Chelsea? The blonde boy casually replied. Sakura's eyes burst into flames as she let out a powerful screech and clenched her fist. Cursing the aforementioned girl. Wow. That didn't take much. Spoke Bullet while combing his pompadour. Nope. And I smell urine too. Spoke Leon as she scratched her nose. Wait, what? Is this another weird prank of yours, Naruto? Asked Mine while tapping her foot impatiently. Might be. The whiskered teen replied in a snarky tone. The pink-haired girl pinched his cheek and spoke with a small tick mark. Property shouldn't talk back to their owners. As punishment, you're taking me out shopping tomorrow. The blonde rolled his eyes and spoke calmly, you want me to buy you lunch? She pinched his cheek harder and spoke with a mischievous grin. Oh no. You're not gonna sweet talk me into a date. In fact, we're going to the Golden Leaf and have a nice and juicy steak luncheon. The blonde chuckled. The Golden Leaf was one of the most popular and expensive restaurants in Konoha. Some people have to make reservations months in advance just to get a table. Not mine. She was a regular there since she is labeled as a VIP for being the daughter of Kizashi Haruno, one of the civilian council representatives, which was a tad ironic since he was a shinobi back in the day. You spoil me, Meinheim. He spoke with a small smile. The pink-haired girl huffed and replied, good boy. Don't say your owner doesn't give you anything nice. From behind the two, Bullet, Leon and Shield were giving their whiskered friend several thumbs ups. Naruto. Carry your owner to her seat. Spoke Mine with a shark-like grin. Can't. Gotta take a leak. Aniki. The blonde spoke while retreating to the nearest restroom. The muscular man saluted his brother and picked up the pink-haired girl. Damn you, Naruto. You're supposed to carry me. I hate you. I won't forgive you for ignoring me. Whined Mine in an animated fashion. Spoiled brat and sundeer. Commented Leon with a small smile, to which Shield nodded in amusement. Leave me alone, damn it. Yelled the voice of Chelsea as she shoved her way past an angry mob of fangirls, her clothes and hair extremely messy and disheveled, a look of anger on her face. Where is that damn Naruto? I'll make him pay for starting that false rumor. She yelled while stomping her foot. Don't know where he is. Spoke the blonde Catwoman with a grin, to which the brown-haired girl snarled angrily and stomped over towards her seat. That whiskered brat was gonna pay. One way or another. Iruka Yamino and his assistant Mizuki entered. Before they could begin roll call, Naruto and Lubbock appeared, the former flashing a victory sign at Chelsea, making her shake in anger and make a motion of throat slitting at the blonde. He flipped her the bird with a big grin and sat between Mine and Bullet. The pink-haired girl puffed out her cheeks and turned her gaze away from the blonde with a huff. You have a way with the ladies, bro. Whispered Bullet with a thumbs up. Naruto chuckled and replied quietly, guess I have that effect. One by one, the teachers called out the names of students whom announced their presence. Once roll call was done, Iruka began making an announcement. Recently, an unmarked proposal was left on the Hokage's desk for a new team dynamic. A guild, it is called. Basically, it shall be a group of shinobi and or kunoichi specially trained together and shall perform various missions together or provide backup to teams in need of assistance. Since this is a new and untested team dynamic, Sandaime Sama has declared that a week-long competition shall be held in the final week of the academy starting today. Their goal is to divide into your own guilds and defeat your rivals. Last team standing at the end of the week wins. If, at the end of the week, there are any additional guilds surviving, then the guild with the most victories wins. A guild is declared defeated when all members are incapacitated and there are no second chances. Finally, the members of the winning guild shall automatically become genin and shall be assigned to their jonin sensei. That is all. And I wish you luck. You have until the bell rings to decide on your guild members. Also, the maximum number of guild members you may have is 8. Any leftovers who were not picked automatically fail. One more thing, I apologize for not mentioning this sooner, but all losing guilds shall have to take the standard genin test. Finally, and this is important, each guild must have a designated leader. If the leader of a guild is defeated, then it automatically counts as the guild's loss without needing to incapacitate the other members. As the scarred Chunin finished his explanation of the rules, Naruto saw this as a chance. If he forms a guild and wins, then he wouldn't have to take the thrice damned test, which required that fucking clone jutsu that was the one obstacle he couldn't overcome. It was perfect. And he already decided on whom he wanted as his guild members. Hey. Bullet. Mine. Wanna form a guild with me? The blonde boy spoke with a grin. The muscular teen combed his pompadour and answered with a grin, it'd be my pleasure, bro. We should invite the rest of our friends too. At this, Mine huffed while crossing her arms under her small chest. Fufu. Not a bad idea. Since you're my property, I guess I need to make sure you pass this stupid contest so you aren't held back again. Oh, you do care, Meinheim. The whiskered teen teased the pink-haired girl. She glared at him and pinched his cheek and spoke with a sickly sweet smile, don't backtalk me, you damn brat. You should just stay at your owner's side like a good puppy. No problem. You'd be lonely without me since you have to live with a shinobi-hating dad and a psycho fangirl sister. He spoke while tapping his fingers against the desk. Mine slowly turned away, averting her gaze from the blonde, and thought he sees through me. "Sundeer talk?" asked Bullet in a whisper, making the whiskered teen nod in affirmative. "Well, let's go ask the others," spoke Naruto, making his two friends nod. One by one, they asked their friends Leon, Lubbock, Shield, Akame and Chelsea. To which they all agreed to form a guild together. So with Naruto, Bullet, Chelsea, Leon, Lubbock, Mine, Akame and Shield, they formed the full guild member limit. Now they needed to elect a leader. "So who's gonna be the leader?" asked Akame while holding up an armband which was handed out by the teachers. The elected leaders of each guild were supposed to wear them so that they may be easier to identify. "I say that Naruto-kun should be the boss," spoke Leon with a large grin. The other members of the group glanced at each other, then all voiced their unanimous agreement. The Uzumaki sat stunned as he asked them, "Why me? Why not someone with more fighting experience like Bullet or Leon or Akame?" "Because you keep us all together whenever we have our disagreements. You deserve this," spoke Shield with a smile while adjusting her glasses. "I don't feel like I earned or deserved this," grumbled the Uzumaki. They all laughed at him and spoke in unison, "Deal with it." And so Akame slipped the armband on him. Then they began to observe the other formed guilds. Seemed like Sasuke was attempting to get the best fighters in the class so he could win. The fangirls formed their own, completely ignoring the point to this special assignment. Hinata, Kiba, Shino, Shikamaru, Chipuji and Ino were all in the same group together. Not a bad mix actually. For now, Naruto and his group decided to start with the weakest groups and work their way up. In limbo. The rabbit goddess sat in the void. Observing the happenings of this fresh timeline. So far things seemed to be going well. This Naruto wasn't wasting his time with thoughtless pranks like painting the Hokage monument. Though if she were truthful she liked seeing the Senju brothers' faces painted on, though she would have written something much more insulting. "I see your time in limbo has cultivated a sense of humor in you," spoke a deep masculine voice behind her. She turned and was met with the form of her son Hagoromo. "True. This place can be boring. I must take amusement where I can find it." "Mother. What you're doing is insane. You can't keep resetting everything like on what were those things called?" he asked at the end, searching for the word. "Movies. The word you're looking for is movies. And I most assuredly will continue until I fix everything." "Mother, please. There's nothing to fix. You must." He was interrupted by her jabbing a finger in his face. She turned to face him and spoke angrily. "Who was it that gave humanity chakra?" "That was you. Who was it that chose favorites and began a cycle of endless conflict between the Senju and Uchiha?" "That was you. With each generation the world goes deeper into chaos. And that child of prophecy is our only hope to end this." "Hagoromo, I am sorry I wasn't a good mother to you and your brother. But the corruption festering inside me fed off my emotions and acting brashly could have destroyed us all. If I could have I would have ended my own existence and stopped all of this. But you convinced me to stay. Stay the course, mother. Tomorrow will be all the brighter. Ever the optimist. Or is that enthusiasm translated into stupidity?" She angrily scolded him. The Rikido Sennin lowered his head in shame and replied, "You aren't wrong. I made awful mistakes. I tried to show people the ways of ninju, but they spat on my teachings and perverted the power over chakra as a weapon of war that lived within their own bodies. All I can do is allow the next generation to fix these age-old mistakes." She frowned deeply and spoke, "I agree that the next generation can fix this with the proper guidance. They need direction. I won't have them fumbling around in the dark without knowing what they're even doing. They need some modicum of help." Fortunately, Naruto-san's first trial is already lined up and waiting. "Trial? What are you up to now?" asked the Sennin. His mother chuckled deeply and replied with a smile, "Simple. Naruto-kun kept on being tossed out amongst the wolves without any experience or knowledge of combat beyond what came natural to him. No skills beyond what he was taught. No goals beyond what others asked of him. No hopes beyond the backward self-righteousness that I find vomit-worthy. This time, I'll keep Naruto-kun on his toes. He'll be prepared this time. I'll make sure of it personally." End chapter 1. Chapter 2. The nightmare revived. Ghosts of the past strike back. Falling. Falling. And falling. Leon felt she was falling out into empty space. Pain throbbing in her abdomen, she looked up at the sky. The world fading to black. A promise unable to be kept. What was the promise? Why was she in so much pain? Why was she falling? She couldn't remember. She felt anger, disappointment, and above all fear. She didn't want to die. She felt like she was going to. Then splat. I. Screamed Leon as she snapped awake from one of her cat naps. She flailed about on the ground screaming hysterically. Where was she? What happened? Her eyes were still bleary from sleep and she couldn't focus in her panic. Then she saw the blurred figures of people. Someone yelled, "Hold her down." She screamed in terror and struggled violently from the grip of her captors. Fighting for life and limb. She heard someone yell, "Leon." Snap out of it. Then a loud slap crossed her cheek. The stinging pain of a handprint forcing her back into focus. She babbled for a few moments and latched onto the first thing she recognized. Naruto Uzumaki. She gripped his shirt tightly and pressed her body to his. Like a kitten seeking protection. She shivered and shook, her hair seemingly standing on end. She felt an alien hand touch her shoulder and immediately swiped at it and screeched, "Don't touch me." A loud yelp sounded from the one who touched her and Leon gripped onto her fellow blonde harder. "Leon. It's okay. You're fine. You're among friends," spoke the whiskered boy. Friends? Friends. Yes, she now knew where she was. She remembered falling asleep during school lunch hour and then she had that horrible dream. She hyperventilated for a few more moments before her breathing finally slowed. She rubbed the tears from her eyes and spoke in slightly hoarse voice, "I'm okay. I'm fine now." Akame asked her with a concerned expression, "Are you okay? You just started screaming for no reason. We thought you might have had a stroke or a seizure." Leon reluctantly let go of her friend Naruto. She then spoke in somber tone, "I'm okay. Just a bad dream." Her friends stared at her for a few moments. All wondering what had gotten into her to scare her too badly that she would go into a state of panic. Was it about a giant dog creature? Asked Sheila as she adjusted her glasses, then elaborated, "I have been having super scary dreams about a dog monster eating me." Some of them paled at the rather gory image that went through their heads. Leon shook her head and replied, "No. Not that. I remember falling. I remember some fattest threw me off a roof. That's about it." Naruto rubbed his chin and shrugged, hopefully this won't repeat itself. "Hey Chelsea, you were saying about the remaining guilds." The brown-haired girl put a lollipop in her mouth and replied in a matter-of-fact tone, "Well, there are only 3 left. Ours, Sasuke's and the clan heirs. Since we preempted and took out all the weaker guilds, we have no need to eliminate our remaining competition. Though we shouldn't let our guard down either. If I know Sasuke, he won't hesitate to try and one-up us. Then we won't let that happen. Anyway, anyone wanna go to the Golden Leaf? Meals on me," spoke Mine with a grin while poking the Uzumaki in the ribs. He chuckled and rubbed the feline woman's shoulder. "Come on, Leon. I think a nice meal will cheer you up." He spoke with a comforting smile. She nodded eagerly and marched off to the famed restaurant together. Seemingly choosing to skip school of their own accord, piss off Iruka and simply spend time as friends. This wasn't an uncommon occurrence since they occasionally skipped school together, knowing they can easily catch up since Iruka's class was both repetitive and boring. When they approached the famed restaurant, one of the greeters immediately recognized Mine and allowed her inside. Suddenly that same greeter cut off the rest of the group and spoke, "Sorry. But this place isn't for rabble and common folk." The nasal-like tone of voice obviously showed a sense of superiority and discrimination. "Oh Mineheim. I think this guy doesn't know who we are," spoke Naruto with a large grin. The pink-haired girl puffed her cheeks, then kicked the greeter on the kneecap, making him fall to the floor and yowl in pain. "Do you know who I am?" asked the adopted Haruno with a glare. The man on the floor looked up to her with a puzzled expression and answered her, "Mine Haruno-sama." She gave a rather cheeky grin and planted her foot dangerously close to his crotch. "That's right. I am a loyal and frequent patron of this establishment, however you have just denied entrance to my little entourage. I find that insulting. You called them rabble and common folk, yes. Does that mean you believe I waste my time with such people? Wrong. You have insulted me and my friends. Just for that I shall tell daddy and mommy what a horrible restaurant the Golden Leaf is. The complaints of my daddy, who is a civilian council member, could seriously tarnish this place. You might even be fired for this light against me." The employee of the Golden Leaf paled in horror at this and begged her, "Please Mine-sama. Anything but that. I'm sorry. It won't happen again. See that it doesn't. Or next time I will crush your pathetic balls and have your life financially ruined, forcing you to live in a cardboard box in a decrepit roach-infested alley. Is that clear?" she asked while applying pressure to his balls with her foot. He nodded in understanding, groaning in pain and allowing the others to enter. "Done and done. Naruto. I demand a foot massage for my generous assistance," spoke Mine with a triumphant grin. The blonde looked towards the rest of his friends and mouthed, "Worth it." They chuckled at their friend, though for some reason Leon felt a spark of jealousy. They eventually found their usual table and sat down. A waitress quickly took their orders after hearing the incident at the front door and left without a word. They all made small talk and shared a few jokes. Suddenly Chelsea spoke up, "Don't look now, but we have company." She pointed at the approaching figure, which was revealed to be Sasuke Uchiha. Their #1 annoyance. "The hell does piss for brains want?" asked Lubbock with a frown. "Don't worry. If he causes trouble, I'll give it to him," spoke Bullet while flexing his muscles to further his point. Is it just me or is there something missing from this picture? Sheila asked while adjusting her glasses. Akame's crimson eyes surveyed the situation, then she replied, he isn't accompanied by his guild members. How careless. The Uchiha approached them with his trademark scowl and spoke in his usual tone of disrespect and superiority. You're at my table. And a loser like you doesn't even deserve to be here. The last part he directed at Naruto, who was sipping at his drink in a casual manner. Boy. Watch what you say about my precious property, Uchiha swine. Spoke mine as she threatened to throw something at the Uchiha, wishing she had her weapon pumpkin with her. The other members of the group got up from their seats angrily. Leon's eyes turning to slits as she spoke with a snarl, don't insult Naruto-sama in front of me. The others didn't take notice of her using the honorific sama and spoke in unisum what she said. The tension was broken when Naruto asked with a grin, where's your guild, Sasuke? At this the Uchiha clenched his fists. His silence being his answer. This caused Naruto to burst out laughing, you disbanded your guild. Oh my god, you really are a prideful imbecile. Sasuke was about to lash out in anger, but shouting from the streets cut him off. Then a random civilian burst into the Golden Leaf and shouted, the daimyo and his wife are dead. They have been murdered. The patrons of the Golden Leaf all sat perfectly still and silent, the gears in their brains having grinded to a halt. The shock evident on their faces. Finally a chain reaction began with people screaming and breaking out on mass hysteria. Damn it. What do we do? Yelled Mine, not knowing how to handle the situation. Head to the Hokage Tower. The Sandai might have answers. Yelled Naruto as he began pushing past the various civilians, his friends quickly following suit as they all rushed out the doors. As they ran through the streets they noticed that many residents of Konoha had the same idea as they surrounded the Hokage Tower to demand answers. From atop the tower, Hiruzen was desperately trying to calm down the populace. Please everyone. This news is recent. I shall notify you all when more details are ready. He yelled down to the people, however they couldn't hear him over their hysteric screams and shouts for answers. In the back of the crowd, Naruto was sitting on Bulet's shoulders to see over the crowd. Anything? Asked Bulet as he looked up at the whiskered boy. I can't hear what the old man's trying to say. These people are too loud. Hang on. Looks like the old man's talking to some fat geezer. Might be from the daimyo's court. Spoke Naruto as he squinted his eyes a bit. In curiosity, Leon leapt on top of a trash can to get a better look. Naruto was correct, the Hokage was indeed talking to a fat geezer. That beard, that fat gut, those disgusting beady eyes. It was him. The one from her dream. Her killer. The very incarnation of greed and evil. The Prime Minister honest. The memories from her past life flooded her mind. Leon. Get down from there before you hurt yourself. Spoke Sheila as she helped her friend off the trash can with a small smile. She then noticed the blonde girl was shaking. Badly. Leon's whole body was now trembling. Leon-chan. Are you okay? You're shaking. Sheila asked in a worried tone. Leon didn't answer, her eyes unfocused, staring into empty space as her nose bleeds from the mental overload. Naruto-kun. I think something's wrong with Leon. She's shaking and her nose is bleeding. Yelled the purple-haired girl in fright. Say what? Aniki, lem down. Yelled Naruto, causing his friend to lift him off his shoulders and place the whiskered teen back down on the ground. The Jinchuriki approached his fellow blonde and put a hand on her shoulder and asked her, Leon. What's wrong? Say something. Thick tears fell from Leon's golden eyes, a gross mixture of snot and blood falling from her nose. Then, without warning, she collapsed to her knees and let out a loud wailing. Her cries were so loud that her friends were forced to cover their ears. Out of all the cries in Konoha, Leon's rang the loudest. From the Hokage monument to the gates of Konoha to the forest of death, Leon's screams could be heard throughout Konoha. She screamed and screamed until her voice was spent, then she began to vomit all over the ground, her puke splashing against the dirt, making her friends reel back in both surprise and disgust. Finally, after she finished, she passed out. She slowly tilted forward, about to land face first into the former contents of her stomach, but both Naruto and Lubba caught her by her arms. Damn it. She passed out. What do we do now? Asked Lubbock in a panic. Soon the guild themselves devolved into chaos and panic like the civilians. All mindlessly chattering and falling apart, even the normally stoic Akame was freaking out. Naruto repeatedly tried to gain their attention and restore order, but they couldn't hear him over their panic jabbering. Naruto himself felt hopeless, a lone tear escaping his eye as he cradled Leon's unconscious body close to him. He had no idea what happened to her, but she was his friend and he would help her no matter what. His resolve now reaffirmed, he shouted as loud as he could, everyone. Shut up. At last his friends quieted down, allowing him to speak. You're all losing it just like these civilians. Get a damn grip already. Leon needs our help and freaking out isn't helping her. I know we're confused as hell and a little scared cause we don't know what's happening. But we can't fall apart like this. We need to organize and handle this strategically. Lubbock, head back to the Saratobi estate and get your Tigu, then gather everyone else's Tigus. Bullet, go and find our friends. Get Anko-chan, get Kurenai, get Nico-san, get your dad Guy-san, get anybody. Mine, go home and get your Tigu, Pumpkin. Also ask your parents if they know anything about what's going on. The rest of you will help me take Leon to the Onizuka compound. Got it. They all gave a shout of confirmation and ran off to do their assigned tasks. Naruto carried his fellow blonde in a bridal carry as he, Akame, Chelsea and Shiel sped towards the Onizuka compound. Naruto-san. Wouldn't it be more prudent to take Leon to the hospital? Asked Akame as she glanced at her unconscious friend. Normally yes, but with all this chaos and crazed civilians, it might be too dangerous to take her to the hospital. If things don't get under control we might be looking at village-wide riots. Now keep running. The whiskered teen yelled out as he charged down the streets. His friends close behind as they sped away, leaving a dust cloud in their wake. Minutes later they found themselves at the Onizuka's estate. Leon had awoken, but she was now completely catatonic. She did not say a single word, her eyes were unfocused and seemed like a deep dull void, her face a blank canvas showing no signs of emotion. Naruto was beating on the door hoping someone would answer. Damn it. Open up already or I'll kick the door down. The whiskered teen yelled out. Finally the door was opened by their classmate Kiba. What the hell Naruto, what are you Leon? What's wrong with her? Asked Kiba as he noticed the adopted clan member wasn't herself. No idea. Now let us in already. It's a nightmare out there. Yelled Naruto impatiently. The dog boy nodded and ushered them inside. Naruto carried Leon over to the couch and set her down. She hugged her knees to her chest but then became perfectly still and statue-like. The whiskered boy sighed and spoke. Chelsea, find a blanket for Leon, something soft and fuzzy. Akame, warm up some milk for her. Warm milk usually calms Leon down. The two nodded and did as instructed. Shiel sat next to her friend in order to try and comfort her. Naruto then asked his classmate Kiba, alright. Where the hell's your mom and sister? We have a potential crisis on our hands. The dog boy nodded as his partner Akame yipped out. Kiba scratched his cheek and replied, Mom is out for an emergency council meeting and my sister Hana is helping the other Chunin and Jonin restore order to the public. According to my mom, she told me that the daimyo and his wife were somehow poisoned. The news wasn't meant to be released to the public yet, but someone leaked the news and now it is spreading like wildfire. Naruto huffed while crossing his arms. Great. The allegedly strongest village in the elemental nations that survived 3 shinobi world wars and now it's tearing itself apart from the inside out. How could things get any worse? Meanwhile with Mine. I really don't want to be here. Mine thought in her mind while clutching her weapon Pumpkin. She had returned home to retrieve her Tigu and ask her father what was happening. Instead of answering her, he instead brought her to the council chambers so that she may see history in the making. She desperately wanted to leave and check on her friends, but this may be the best way to get some information as Naruto wanted. She quietly sat next to her father, but her eyes kept glancing to the fattest speaking to the Hokage. She felt a deep sense of disgust and a pit formed in her stomach. He seemed so familiar to her that it made her sick, but she couldn't remember where she knew him from. At last Hiruzen asked for the silence of the councils so he might address them. When they had settled down, the aged Hokage spoke in a grave tone. Members of the shinobi, civilian, and elder councils. By now you have heard the tragic news of the daimyo's and his wife's deaths. This news has somehow been leaked to the public and drove the masses to panic. I am pleased to inform you that numerous shinobi are now hard at work to restore order and has made significant and steady progress to calming the people. Now I turn this matter over to the daimyo's elite guard, General Esdeath. The lone woman appeared out from the shadows, her light blue hair gleaming in the light. She adjusted her cap and spoke in a professional manner. It is my sad duty as a samurai to inform you that my charges, the daimyo and his wife have both been assassinated. You have probably heard it was by poisoning, which is correct. They were both killed by a highly concentrated and fast-acting toxin. They never stood a chance to get medical help. We have detained all witnesses for their protection and we have arrested any and all individuals with motive and/or unable to produce a solid alibi. We have no confirmation about this being a political killing from a foreign nation or a personal grudge murder from someone on the inside. If you have any matters you wish to discuss then please direct them to the Prime Minister. Additionally, any information regarding possible suspects would be greatly appreciated. Once the announcement had been made, the Hokage and the Shinobi Council left so they may continue coordinating the various shinobi from their respective clans. Kizashi stood up and approached the Prime Minister, which Mine knew meant bad news. The pink-haired man bowed to the obese man and spoke, greetings honest Sama. I am Kizashi Haruno, the elected head representative of the Civilian Council. There was 2 things in particular I wanted to inquire about. Firstly, if I may, who shall be the next daimyo? The Prime Minister made an obviously fake sympathetic face and replied, "The late daimyo's only child shall take the position now. Poor boy doesn't know what to think right now." The dark expression stretched across Kazashi's face as he spoke. "A child daimyo, eh? The boy shall need people he can trust. People who won't say take advantage of him." A sinister expression formed the minister's face as well. A devious chuckle escaped his lips as he replied, "Great minds think alike, Kazashi-san. For those who prove their loyalty there are great rewards." The ex-shinobi crossed his arms and then spoke with a devious grin, which brings on my second question. "What do you know about Jinchuriki?" Honest raised an eyebrow as he asked, his curiosity piqued. "Jinchuriki? Aren't they freaks and weapons of war?" "Correct on both counts, Honest-sama. We have one in our midst. A real troublemaker really, goes by the name Naruto Uzumaki. You see, we can't simply get rid of him because of him being a military asset. If we kill him, we'll lose the Kyuubi, since it can only be contained by those of Uzumaki blood. We thought about trying to place loyalty seals on him, but then we feared that it might interfere with the one seal keeping the beast locked up. However, I have heard rumors about your General esdeath. That she is a master of torture and can break the will of anyone into being her loyal pet. Imagine if you employed her talents to bring a Jinchuriki to heel," explained Kizashi, his plan to get an Honest's good graces being transparent. In the background, Mine overheard every single word that was said. Her face slowly turning green. She had to get out and warn Naruto and the others as quickly as possible. They were about to be pulled into grave danger. As Mine snuck out of the council chambers, Honest let out a bellowing laugh and spoke. "How interesting. I like that little idea. General." At his call, the general walked up sharpening her rapier. "Yes, Honest-san. Something come up." The Prime Minister grinned and spoke. "I need you to find and capture a Jinchuriki named Naruto Uzumaki. I want him alive no matter what it takes. I want him alive. He's useless to us dead." esdeath chuckled as she ran a hand through her hair. "Not to worry, Honest-san. My Yagers are professionals. They'll bring this Naruto alive no problem. Just give us a description and we'll get right on it." At this, Kazashi spoke up and gave a brief description of her target. "The Jinchuriki you're looking for is about yay high. Blonde hair and blue eyes. Has these distinctively unique whisker-like birthmarks on his cheeks. You can't miss him." "Much obliged. Did you get that, everyone?" asked esdeath as she adjusted her trademark cap. From the shadows emerged 6 individuals, the shinobi hunters called the Yagers. All handpicked by esdeath herself. Seryu, Bowls, Dr. Stylish, Kurum, Wave, and Run. Seryu spoke up first while petting a little dog-like creature. "Not a problem, General. We'll find this guy in no time." The blue-haired woman adjusted her cap again and spoke with a slight hint of malice. "Good. Remember, he's to be brought alive. If he comes back missing any pieces or dead, then it's your asses. If he puts up a fight, then it's okay to slap him around a bit. Got it?" They all saluted her and nodded in confirmation. She smiled, then jabbed a thumb behind her to point at the door and spoke. "You might want to start with following that girl. I think she'll take you right where you need to go." Back at the Inyazuka compound. "Please, Leon. At least a little. You need to eat," spoke Chelsea while holding a plate of food out for Leon. The blonde girl merely stared ahead into empty space, holding the blanket wrapped around her all the tighter. Naruto entered the room and asked, "Any luck with Leon?" He sat down on an adjacent couch and looked worriedly at his feline friend. "Nothing. She won't even talk to us. I have tried everything. I've tried warm milk mixed with honey. I have tried offering her favorite snacks, but she won't take anything. Naruto-kun, I don't think Leon is home right now," explained a saddened Chelsea as she rubbed the building moisture in her eyes. The whiskered teen looked at his friend in a somber tone. He stood up and walked over to her. He reached out, and when his fingers barely brushed against the golden-eyed girl's shoulder, her hand snapped upwards and grabbed Naruto by the throat and squeezed tightly, cutting off some of his air supply. Shield's hands covered her mouth in horror. Akame stood up and was prepared to rip Leon's hand away from Naruto's throat. "Leon. Let go. Its, Naruto. He's your friend." Naruto stared deep into Leon's eyes, and what he saw wasn't anger, it was a deep pit of despair. The kind that one might find inside of a person who can only be described as broken. He opened his mouth and wheezed out, "Leon. It's your pal Naruto. You know. Whiskers. Please, I don't know what happened. I don't know why you're like this. But I swear that we will help you. Okay?" For the first time since her initial breakdown, a small spark of recognition entered the feline female's eyes. Her hand shakily left the whiskered teen's throat and she resumed her position of trying to shrink into the blanket covering her. Naruto gasped for air and was held up by Akame. The black-haired girl asked him, "Did she hurt you?" He shook his head and replied, "A little. But I'm fine. I shouldn't have done that. I'm okay." His assurance made the red-eyed girl nod reluctantly. A knock was heard at the front door, which was answered by Kiba. When the door opened, it revealed Lubbock with his arms full of Tigus. Coming through. Yelled the green-haired teen as he rushed through and almost slammed the tigus to the table. Special delivery from Lubbock Mail Services. I have a tigu for Akame, Chelsea, Leon, and Sheil. How's the patient doing? He asked at the end with a bit of hope for improvement. The silence was his answer, making him ask like that, huh? Damn. Naruto sighed and rubbed his temples, asking how's things on the streets. Lubbock sighed and crossed his arms and plopped on the couch tiredly and answered better than before. I met up with Bullet before I got here. The shinobi are getting things back under control and the civilians are going home. Good thing too, some people were threatening violence. Bullet won't make it for a while since our shinobi friends are being debriefed. Word is that the Hokage might declare a total lockdown of Konoha till the assassination plot on the daimyos is considered internal or a foreign plan. Sorry guys. I don't have much more than that. Don't worry about it. You did your job. Spoke Sheil with a small smile, to which the others, excluding Leon, nodded. The Jinchuriki shook his leg, an itching feeling was crawling up his spine and he couldn't seem to shake it. He felt a sense of danger. Lubbock. Chelsea. Why don't you two step out and form a perimeter around the compound? I think trouble's on the way. The two addressed members glanced at each other and shrugged, with Chelsea speaking calmly, wouldn't hurt to be practical. Let's go, Lubbock. The green-haired boy sighed but nodded and followed suit outside so he can use his tigu to make a perimeter with his threads. Akame and Sheil each picked up their tigus in preparation as well. Akame. Come with me for a bit. I want to make sure no one might be hiding in the compound. Sheil, you stay with Leon. With a nod, the red-eyed girl followed him outside to investigate the interior of the compound. Thunder rumbled outside as the rain came down quite heavily. They shut the door behind them, leaving Sheil, Leon, Kiba and his partner alone. The dog boy stamped his foot and spoke, screw this. I'm not gonna spend the whole damn day as a doorman. I'm going with them. His partner barked in agreement and leapt into his jacket as the two went after Naruto and Akame. Sheil sighed as she clutched her giant scissor tigu close to her. Her legs shaking as she turned to Leon and spoke, Leon-chan. I'm going to the bathroom. Stay there please. Okay. With that she rushed out of the room to head towards the nearest toilet. If Leon heard the spectacled girl, she didn't show it. Her eyes still facing forward and staring into nothingness. Suddenly her eyes flicked to her tigu on the table. Her eyes hardening into orbs burning with white-hot fury. She snatched up her tigu and snapped it across her waist. I am going to kill that fucking pig. She muttered and marched out. A few minutes later Sheil returned with an embarrassed expression on her face. Sorry Leon-chan, I couldn't find the toilet paper. Muttered Sheil, her eyes widening as she noticed that both Leon and her tigu was missing. Leon. No. She cried out in terror. At her scream, Naruto and Akame came rushing back, only to find Sheil in the rain crying out for Leon. Sheil. What's happening? Asked Akame in worry. The purple-haired girl sniffled and replied, I was only gone for a few minutes because I had to pee, then Leon disappeared. She wailed while rubbing the tears and rain from her face. Spread out. Find her. She can't have gotten far. Shouted Naruto, causing the two girls to nod and run off in different directions. With mine. Damn this rain. I can't see where I'm going. Yelled Mine as she rushed through the woods, wishing she had stayed on the road to make a straight shot to the Inyazuka compound. However, she felt eyes on her and decided to cut through the woods to lose them. She stopped for a few moments to catch her breath. She leaned against her tigu for some support. I have to warn everyone. I have to warn Naruto. He might be an idiot that can't do stuff without our help, but he's my idiot. She spoke to herself and was about to continue on. Then the bushes rustled. She prepared pumpkin in case of attack, but instead a small dog came out. Huh? Oh. It is just a dog. Funny, I don't remember seeing you from the Inyazuka kennels. Wait, I know you from somewhere. She muttered, thick beads of sweat pouring down her face, mixing with the rain that fell on her. An alarm rang off in her head, warning her of danger. She cocked pumpkin and fired a shot at the dog, making it sail through the air with a howl. It then came back snarling angrily with a girl. Well. I was hoping you'd let Koro-kun follow you. Guess that didn't work. Say, do I know you from somewhere? Mine raised an eyebrow. This girl and her dog did seem familiar for some reason. But she couldn't place why. I don't know. Who the hell are you? The pink-haired girl asked while aiming her tigu. Fufu. I am Seryu. And this is Koro. Tell me where this Naruto Uzumaki guy is and I'll let you go. The auburn-haired girl spiked with a crazed grin. The pink-haired girl shook her head and yelled out, go to hell. I'm not telling you where my property is. Now die already. She fired her weapon pumpkin at Seryu, but the auburn-haired girl whistled, causing the dog creature to exponentially grow on size and block the shot with its massive body. Holy hell. I knew there was something weird about that dog. GRR. Forget the dog. I need to take out the owner. She thought in her mind and cocked pumpkin. "Here I come," shouted a new female voice, a blur of purple sped by and cut across Koro's stomach, making it yowl from pain. "Shiel? What are you doing out here?" asked Mine, surprised at her friend's appearance. "I heard your pumpkin fire so I came running." "Who's this girl?" "She's an enemy, right?" the purple-haired girl asked as she readied her scissor Tigu. "That's right. She and her gang want to take Naruto away. We can't let them. You've got to be careful, there's something weird about them," yelled Mine as she fired pumpkin again, this time aiming at the dog creature, hitting it square between the eyes. "Understood. I'll protect Naruto-kun even if it costs me my life," shouted Shiel in determination, wanted to protect her precious friend. "DRRR. Koro. Arms." Seryu shouted, causing the beast to grow massive forearms. Both Shiel and Mine glanced at each other and nodded in agreement, they both knew that girl needed to be taken out no matter what, and they needed to do it now before it overpowered them. Mine fired pumpkin repeatedly, laying down covering fire to disorient the beast and give Shiel an opening. The spectacled girl skirted around the canine monster, an itching feeling that she'd seen it before entered her mind. She shrugged it off and continued to make her way towards the monster's handler. Out of the corner of her eye she saw that ditzy purple-haired girl closing in, she was too focused on the girl shooting at Koro to have noticed this one. Regardless, she wasn't defenseless. Shiel felt a sense of danger, something about this seemed familiar, in one quick motion she brought her Tigu up in a defensive posture, a loud bang came out, as well as the sound of clang. That Seryu girl had a weapon hidden in the back of her mouth and had fired it on Shiel, who managed to stop the shot just in time with her Tigu. "What the? How did she know?" thought Seryu as she broke into a cold sweat. "Koro. Pray. Get the scissor girl," the auburn girl commanded, causing the canine to spin around, its massive jaws open showing rows of teeth. "Shiel. Get away," yelled Mine in panic. Shiel, however, was frozen in terror. This was it. The dog monster from her own nightmares that ate her. No matter how much she screamed in her mind, her body refused to move. Then in one swipe of its massive forearms, it obliterated the lower half of Shiel's body. "Shiel. Shiel," screamed out Mine, tears leaking down her face as lightning flashed, temporarily illuminating the area. Shiel's upper body half lied still in the mud. Blood freely mixing with the rainwater. Seryu laughed at how the spectacled girl lost her nerve and fell prey to her Tigu. She then turned her attention to the pink-haired one and yelled out Koro. "Kill." On command the dog creature charged at Mine, fully prepared to crush her with its massive jaws. But then, a blur of purple appeared, revealing it to be Shiel, who launched herself towards Koro's open mouth and was now keeping it pried open with her Tigu. "Mine. Go. Warn the others. I'll hold them off," yelled Shiel as she desperately clung to life in her Tigu. The massive beast shaking its head to loosen the scissors, keeping its mouth open. Mine could barely move, she and her friends hadn't even graduated from the academy and now here they were, unprepared, in a real life and death fight for their very lives. "What are you waiting for, Mine? I can't hold on for long. Go. I won't let you die because I am a useless airhead." The pink-haired girl bit her lip hard enough to draw blood, then ran off into the rain screaming, "I am so sorry, Shiel. Please forgive me." Shiel smiled weakly, hot tears streaming down her face. "It's okay, Mine-chan. It's my fault for panicking. I only wish I could have told Naruto-kun what he really meant to me." Her eyes slowly drifted closed, accepting her end, then they snapped wide open. She remembered everything now. The capital, night raid, this girl, her death. It all came flooding back to her. And her regret of unable to be there for Tatsumi, whom she befriended and hugged when he needed a friend. "Ooh. I'm not going to die again. I'm not going to die again. I won't leave Naruto-kun. Even if I have to cut open the Shinigami's stomach, even if I have to destroy heaven itself, I refuse to die," she screamed out in desperation. She let herself fall out of the canine beast's mouth, leaving her Tigu lodged inside, making the beast roll around on its back to try and get the scissors out. Shiel used what strength she had to launch herself toward Seryu with the force of a cannonball, what's left of her body colliding with the auburn-haired girl, sending them both to the ground. "I'll kill you. I'll kill you. I'll strangle the life out of you. And if my arms fail, I'll rip out to her throat with my teeth. I'm not dying here," screamed Shiel as her hands wrapped around Seryu's throat, choking her. In a panic, Seryu fired the gun hidden in her mouth, the bullet grazing Shiel's neck. Round after round was fired, and each to the bullet failed to hit its mark. The spark of was quickly fading from the purple-haired girl's eyes. Desperate, she opened her mouth and sank her teeth into Seryu's neck, drawing blood. "Hang on. I got her," yelled one Dr. Stylish as he pried the massive scissors from Koro's mouth. "Kill her. Kill her. Fucking kill her, damn it," screamed Seryu in terror. The doctor then drove the scissors into Shiel's back, aiming for her heart. The pain caused her to bite harder, but not enough to kill her target. Shiel then became limp. Her body unable to continue functioning. Seryu threw the deceased girl off and put a hand over the bleeding bite mark. Phew. That hurts. That chick was a goddamn psycho. She tried to bite out my throat. She screamed, causing more blood to spill out between her fingers. Sighing, the doctor proceeded to patch up her bleeding neck and commented, "You know, since being a member of the General's Jaegers, I have seen many of our enemies' deaths from A to S rank shinobi. But none of them showed the same kind of tenacity as this girl. Barely clinging to life, no chance of survival at all, and yet still she fought on, desperate to live on. What a stylish end." The girl growled out, "Yeah, whatever, you quack doctor. Who the hell is she anyway? She didn't have a headband." The doctor finished his work and replied, "Indeed. She might be an academy student, I think." "You're kidding, right? We faced down mercenaries, missing nins from all over the elemental nations, and a fucking academy student nearly killed me?" she asked quite bitterly. "Indeed. I suppose that's what happens when you get careless. Most unstylish," he replied while inspecting his new prize, the scissor Tegu Extus. Seryu growled angrily and glanced down at the corpse of the girl who had almost killed her and grinned in a sinister manner. "Koro. Eat." Meanwhile. "Leon. Where are you? Amps were me. Kami, I wish I'd brought along Kiba and Akamaru for this," Naruto shouted as he ran through the rain and mud. Then he stopped and felt the powerful urge to vomit. A pit formed in his stomach and he felt dread. Like a piece of his heart had been torn out. He heard a twig snap and glanced in the direction of the sound. It was then he saw the golden hair of his friend Leon. "Leon. Wait up." He yelled after her and ran. It didn't take long to catch up to her. As he placed a hand on her shoulder to turn her around to face him, she smacked his hand away. He reeled back and noticed her body was rigid, as though she were an enraged predator ready to pounce on its prey. "Go away," was all she said as she continued marching on. "Hey, wait a second. We've all been worried about you. What happened to you?" he asked, hoping to understand what was wrong with her. "I remembered something important. That's all," she replied in a bitter tone. Not even giving him a backwards glance. "Leon. Stop talking like that to me. We're friends. Just talk to me so I'll understand. Maybe I can help you?" he asked her gently, trying to coax her out of her hardened posture. "Help me? Help me? You're just a useless idiot that can't do anything without us holding your hand. I don't want you following me around like a puppy. Get lost already. This life I have lived is nothing but a lie. There is no meaning to it other than revenge. You were never even my friend. Just a phantom that pretended to be my friend," she screamed out. When she turned, her eyes were bloodshot and red, even in the rain tear marks could be seen running down her face. Naruto didn't fully understand what she was talking about, but what she said about him really hurt his feelings. It felt like a stab in the heart for him as moisture built in his eyes. Excuse me?" spoke a voice behind them. They turned and saw it was a large muscular man wearing a strange mask. He waved at them and asked, "Sorry to interrupt this moment. But are you Naruto Uzumaki? If you are, then I need to capture you. Nothing personal." Naruto's sweat dropped at the man's strangely polite manner of speech despite his intimidating stature. No," spoke the Jinchuriki in an unsure tone. "Sorry, but I do not believe you. We were given a clear description of you. Guess I can't blame you for lying. Scary guy like me saying that I need to capture you and all that. Sorry, Naruto-san. Oh, pardon my rudeness, my name is Bulls," spoke the now identified man called Bulls. "What the hell is with this guy's politeness? Is he some kind of weirdo?" screamed the whiskered boy with a sweat drop that doubled in size. Then from out of the bushes 2 more people showed up, a girl with a dog and some strange looking guy with rose petals showering him. "Good work, Bulls. You found the Jinchuriki. Now grab him so we can bring him to the general," spoke the girl. Naruto shook his head and spoke in a confused manner. "Who the hell are you people and why do you where did you get that?" he asked as he pointed at the giant pair of scissors in the doctor's hands. "Oh? This stylish little weapon? I got it from that stylish purple-haired girl," replied the doctor with a grin. "Purple hair? Sheil. What did you do to Sheil?" screamed Leon in fury, her eyes turning to slits as her animal characteristics came into existence. "The bitch tried to kill me, so I decided to punish her. Koro-kun was kinda hungry," Seryu replied and tossed an arm at the 2 blondes' feet. Naruto turned green in the face upon realizing it belonged to Sheil. "How about this? You give yourself up and we don't harm any more of your little friends. Seems like the stylish option," spoke the doctor as he raised up Extus. "You assholes, I'll never forgive you," screamed Leon as she charged at the 3. With a whistle from Seryu, the canine grew in size and knocked aside Leon. Bulls prepared his weapon and unleashed a torrent of flames, even in the rain, and with the trees being wet, they caught a flame, forcing Leon to retreat back. "How unstylish. You cannot defeat all 3 of us on your own like this," spoke the doctor. "Fuck you. I won't ever forgive you," screamed Leon in rage. hot tears falling down her face. It was happening all over again. Her friends and comrades dying. Sheil was the first to go. And now it has happened again. The Prime Minister needed to die. She had to kill him. No matter the cost. Naruto growled, his eyes flashing red for a moment, and then he ran headlong towards the doctor holding Sheil's Tigu. Bol spoke to his comrade Dr. Stylish, Seryu. Please keep in mind not to hurt the boy too much. We were told to bring him alive. The doctor smiled and adjusted his glasses. Understood. It wouldn't be at all stylish to disobey the general's orders. He spoke as he shoved the boy away with the flat side of ecstasy. As the blonde rolled back from the blow, he was grabbed by the collar from Leon. Stay out of this, damn it. It isn't your fight. None of this is your fight, you dumbus. Yelled the feline as she shoved her fellow blonde away. Naruto growled as he got up from being knocked around and screamed out, screw you. Sheil was my friend too. I can't just sit around and let these assholes get away with it. Leon was about to yell at him again, but then a loud crash of thunder drowned out her voice, then a bleeding hole in her abdomen appeared. Seryu grinned as she fired more rounds into Leon. The blonde girl coughed blood as she sustained more wounds. She slowly turned towards her foes, but was sped through the chest by the scissor blades by Stylish. Haha. I hope you make a stylish exit like your friend, Feline-san. Spoke the doctor as he kicked the blonde girl away. Leon. Naruto yelled out as he picked up the blonde girl from the mud, gently cradling her. He knew that her Tigu's regenerative properties were unable to keep up with the damage she sustained. The blonde cat girl coughed blood and muttered, damn it. This is what I get for being careless. Naruto. I just want you to know I'm sorry about what I said before. I didn't mean it. I was just so angry. I was so angry that I couldn't keep it together. And I lashed out at you. I'm so sorry. Naruto sniffled as he held her close. Don't worry about it. You're gonna be fine, Leon. I forgive you, okay? Just please don't go. Don't leave. She smiled and whispered with tears leaking down her face, I can't stay. I'm sorry, Naruto-sama. I really am. I wish I could have done more for you. I wish I could have told you how I felt. He choked back tears as he asked, felt. Leon? She put a finger to his lips. Shhhhhh. Don't worry about it. It's too late for that. I shouldn't have mentioned it. There's just one thing I wanna ask. She whispered gently to him, the light slowly leaving her eyes. Anything? Ask me anything. He whispered to her, his shoulders shaking as he cried. I never got to touch your whisker marks. She wheezed out. Oh, go ahead. Do as you like. He whispered to her. Thunder crashed in the sky as she slowly traced her fingers along his whisker marks. So soft, how cute, she breathed out, and then her hand fell limp into the mud. The last bit of her life used up. Naruto cradled her, pulling her head into his chest. He wailed out in despair at the loss of another friend. His psyche now starting to fall apart. His cries filled the entirety of the woods. The harsh rain coming down all the harder and the thunder rumbled ever louder. How touching. I think that's a pretty stylish end. Bol-san. Would you mind picking up the Jinchuriki? I don't think he'll be walking for a while. Spoke the doctor as he leaned against the giant scissors. The masked man nodded in agreement. Thunder rumbled as a burning tree fell over. He approached the boy and was about to pry him away from the deceased girl, but then he and his comrades heard a whine come from Koro. Hey? Koro-kun. What's wrong? Asked Seryu. Her Tigu was clutching its stomach, beads of sweat pouring out of its fur as it whined and groaned and made several gagging noises. What's wrong with your Tigu, Seryu-san? Does he have a tummy ache? I think I might have some antacid in my pack. Spoke Bowles in a concerned manner. The auburn-haired girl was about to thank him for his concern. But then the canine Tigu yowled in pain as a thick bulge appeared from its stomach which made a bam sound. What the hell was that? Asked the doctor in a surprised tone. How am I supposed to know? I've never seen Koro act like this. Seryu snapped angrily. Then suddenly another bulge appeared in Koro's stomach. Bam. 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 And with each time the same bulge kept appearing and the canine seemed more and more desperate to keep its mouth clamped shut. Its beady eyes threatened to pop out of its head as it strained more and more to keep from puking. Finally another bulge appeared and Koro puked up the contents of its stomach onto the ground, making the three Igors groan in disgust. What appeared from Koro's stomach was the remains of Sheil, chewed up and partially digested, as evident by the acid burns. Oh, that's gross. What's wrong, Koro? She not agree with your tummy? Asked the auburn-haired girl as she patted Koro's back as it returned to its chibi form. Never forgive. Never forget. Spoke a quiet feminine voice behind them. They slowly turned and saw that the remains of Sheil was moving, her hand gripping a clump of mud as she dragged herself along the ground. The look of horror filled Seryu's face as she whispered quietly that that's not possible, it's not possible. You were dead. You were dead. She screamed at the end, point at the remains of the spectacled girl. She'll continued whispering the same line over. Her head slowly lifted off the ground, her hair shadowing her face. Lightning flashed across the sky, illuminating Sheil's face. Her eyes were nothing but pitch black and empty voids. The whites of her eyes and her eyes were all gone. Nothing but black filled her eyes. She lunged forward at an alarming speed, clotheslining the doctor with her remaining arm and snatching away the tigu in his hands. She landed back into the mud, sliding along with her tigu. You died once, so I'll make sure you stay dead. Koro. Pray. Seryu shouted, her tigu growing in size and lunging towards Sheil. Just as it was about to crush her with its massive body, it froze up. Never forgive. Never forget. Whispered Sheil, her void-like eyes and blank face showing no signs of fear or acknowledgement of danger. Koro looked down at her for a few moments and then began shaking, taking several steps back. Then it changed back into its chibi form and ran to hide behind its owner's legs. Koro. What's wrong? Why didn't you kill her? Asked the female Jaeger. The three looked at the remains of Sheil and noticed something. Down where her lower body used to be, bone was forming, followed by flesh, then muscle began to intricately weave itself around her flesh, then skin formed covering the exposed muscle, then her missing arm also regrew in the same manner until at last she was whole again, her skin now flawless and supple, showing no signs of damage anymore from the stomach acid. And standing on both her feet. Staring blankly at the Jaegers with her black eyes. Never forgive. Never forget. Joined another voice, revealing itself to be Leon, who also stood up. Her wounds now gone, her eyes replaced by black orbs that showed nothing but black. Naruto also stood up, showing the same black eyes, he too was whispering in unison with the girls. What the hell is going on? Bulls. Light them up. Aim for the scissor girl. Yelled the doctor in a fit of panic. The masked man's self-preservation instinct kicked in and let out a torrent of flames from his tigu, the flames consumed Sheil's now reformed body. His attack was interrupted when he was kicked aside by Leon, who tore the tigu from off Bull's back as he flew back. Seryu shook her head and began to fire her weapons at Leon. The blonde girl thrust out her now clawed hand and in one swift motion caught the bullets. She opened her hand, allowing the bullets to fall to the ground. Koro. Kill. Arms. Pray. Berserk. Do something. Screamed a female Jaeger, however her canine tigu continued hiding behind her leg in terror. The flames Bulls had shot moments ago dissipated and Sheil emerged from the flames unscathed. Her flesh showing no signs of burns as she stalked towards them. Retreat. Retreat. Get the hell out of here. Retreat. Yelled Dr. Stylish as he ran off into the woods, with the disarmed Bulls following after him. Seryu picked up the chibi Koro and ran off after them in order to catch up and alert the general. Once they had gone, the forms of Sheil and Leon walked towards and gathered around Naruto. Their blank eyes and faces showing no signs of emotion as they hugged his form. Their heads resting on top of his as they cradled his body as though they were protecting him. Elsewhere. Hello? Anyone out there? Naruto called out into a deep darkness. The only illumination being a spotlight focusing on the blonde. Outside of the spotlight there was nothing but darkness far as the eye could see, figuratively speaking. Naruto-kun. Is that you? Called out the voice of Sheil as she stepped into the blonde's light, followed shortly by Leon. Leon? Sheil. You're both okay. I'm so happy that you're okay. Naruto spoke as he hugged them both, crying tears of joy. I know. I thought I was a goner. Then I felt I felt something pulling me back. And I came to here. Spoke Leon as she rubbed her forehead. Sheil adjusted her glasses then asked, speaking of Ahich, where is here? The three looked about in the black empty void and knew that it might take a while to find the exit. Then Chapter 2. Chapter 3. Hopeless situation. The general descends. Standing atop the Hokage Tower, General esdeath smirks as she looks down at the village. Konoha. The strongest village in the elemental nations, eh? How interesting. She muttered as she sharpened her rapier. Behind her was her subordinates Kurum, Wave and Run. All of them doing their own thing as they waited for the arrival of their comrades. Their activities were interrupted as indistinct shouting came from the street below, however they recognized the voices of their comrades. Seems they brought my prize. Muttered esdeath with a grin, however she frowned upon seeing her subordinates had returned empty-handed. Dr. Stylish and Seryu were yelling up at their leader, their voices overlapping, making it hard to tell what it was they were saying. She silenced them with a raised hand and spoke one at a time. You had better have a good reason for not bringing me the Jinchuriki. Well. Bulls, what happened? The masked man gulped and saluted the general, replying, well, esdeath-sama, we made contact with the Jinchuriki and were prepared to apprehend him, as per your orders. However, we met interference from his friends and things spiraled out of control. Then well after we thought to have killed his friend, something weird happened. At the end of his explanation the general adjusted her trademark cap and asked, something weird? Tell me more. Elsewhere. How long have we been walking? Asked Sheila as she adjusted her glasses. A worried look on her face. Dunno. Minutes. Hours. Days. It is impossible to tell time in here. Especially since it's nothing but darkness. I can't even tell where the hell we're going. Replied Naruto with a frustrated sigh. Forget that. I wanna know how me and Sheila are alive. If I recall, she was eaten by some dog monster and I was stabbed through the chest by Extus. Yet here we are. Spoke Leon as she scratched her head. Maybe we're zombies? Asked Sheila in a worried tone, the images of her and Leon slowly rotting into shambling corpses filling her mind. Naruto took their wrists and pressed his fingers against it and then asked, zombies don't have pulses, do they? At this the purple-haired girl blushed in embarrassment at her own airheadedness and lightly slapped the side of her face. But that done, they continued wandering about for a while longer, the only light they had was the spotlight that seemed to follow them everywhere they went. GRR. This is useless. How are we ever gonna get out of here if we can't see where we're going? Growled Leon in frustration. Naruto crossed his arms and looked up towards the source of the spotlight, then spoke, I think the answer was never that far from us. He reached up, feeling the air around the light, then his hand brushed against something. He latched onto what was touching his hand and found it to be a thread. Then he yanked on it and with a click the black void changed to white. Sitting a small ways from them was a woman with horns on her head. An amused expression on her face. Welcome. I was wondering how long it would take you to figure that out. The three yelped in surprise and shouted in unison, ah. The Shinigami. The horned woman waved them off and spoke in a casual tone, no. I'm not the Shinigami. My name is Kagaya Otsutsuki. I have brought you to Limbo so that I might explain things. Sheila, Leon. You two have regained your memories, yes? At her question they both stiffly nodded, causing Kagaya to continue speaking. I thought as much. A sly grin crossing her face. What are you talking about? Asked Naruto as he scratched his nose. The rabbit goddess replied to him, hehe. Allow me to explain, your friends, all of them are not originally part of your reality. Leon, Sheila, Lubbock, Bullet, mine, Akame, and Chelsea. They all come from a lost chapter of history from long before chakra ever entered the world. A time where an empire that stood for 1,000 years had taken root. An empire mired in corruption because of a child emperor and his prime minister who took advantage of the emperor's youth and naivety. They were all part of an assassination group known as Night Raid. Dedicated to ending the life of the prime minister. One by one, they fell during their campaign. Leon herself was tragically murdered by the prime minister. Honest. When the dust had settled there wasn't much left to salvage. Then my attention came to you, Naruto-kun. Let me make this clear, you are important to a lot of people. For you carry a powerful and lost heritage that is worth more than all the treasures of the elemental nations. You also carry a powerful entity, the Kyuubi, the most fearsome of the tailed beasts. There are many who would take advantage of you. So I took the souls of Night Raid's members and inserted them into your reality so that you might have friends you can rely on and can protect you. Naruto was stunned into silence. He heard those people that wanted to capture him kept saying the word Jinchuriki. He had a gut feeling that his birthday and the Kyuubi attack being the same was no coincidence. But he never imagined being its container. Or maybe he was just fooling himself. Boy, now. I can understand you bringing us back. But what the hell is Honest and the Yiggers doing alive? Asked Leon with a growl. The rabbit goddess smiled and replied to the question, I freely admit that esdeath being brought into the picture was intentional. The others were not. I didn't place them there. You brought them with you. Your regrets, your grudges, your despair brought them with you when you were reincarnated. For a while I thought about removing them from the equation, but then I thought, why let unfinished business remain unresolved? So I let them stay so you might hash out justice where justice is due. Both my friends died. Well, again. Did you bring them back? Asked Naruto once the rabbit goddess had finished her explanation. Kagaya's lips pursed for a moment as though she were contemplating an answer. Finally, she grinned widely and answered him, no. I had nothing to do with that. I try to keep interference to a minimum if I can help it. It was by your own power that you brought them back. Anyway, as much as I would love to chat further. I'm afraid your time here has been used up. By the way, if you pass this next trial, then I promise you and your friends will be given safe passage out of Konoha. Bye-bye. Once she finished speaking she snapped her fingers and everything went dark. In the Inyazuka compound. Ayaya. Screamed Naruto, Leon and Sheila as their eyes snapped open and they quickly sat up in shock. Their friends also screaming with them while holding up crosses, salt, stakes, and more weapons you might use to slay the undead. Vile demons. Release my friends. How dare you tarnish Sheila's body by possessing it. Screamed Mine as she threw salt into the purple-haired girl's face. Wah? Mine-chan, I'm not possessed or anything. Spoke Sheila in confusion as she adjusted her glasses. Liar. Mine told us what happened to Sheila. There's no way you can be her. Yelled Chelsea while pointing an accusatory finger at the spectacled girl. Eyes. Everyone. Calm down already. I know we are having a crazy ass day, but this really is Shield. I don't know what happened but this is big. I mean really big. Spoke Naruto as he tried to ease his friend's panic. They still gave the resurrected Sheila a suspicious glare, but they decided that if Naruto said so, then it should be okay. What the hell happened out there? Who were those guys? Why were they after you, bro? Asked Bullet as he combed his pompadour. Before I answer, I gotta ask. Did you gather our friends in the shinobi ranks? Asked Naruto hoping that they'd get some backup. Bullet shook his head answering sorry. Their hands are tied. Martial law has officially been declared. And they gotta lock everything down. The Jinchuriki sighed in disappointment. Regardless, his friends deserved to know the truth. About their past lives, about what is happening now, his status as a Jinchuriki, everything. Before he could open his mouth to speak, a female voice called out from outside Naruto Uzumaki. Get out here. The group all stiffened and peered out the window. Outside, esdeath and her group were waiting outside. The blue-haired woman grinning almost in a feral manner as she called out Naruto Uzumaki. Come on out. Let's talk. You can come out quietly or my associates will drag you out. They tell me you're full of tricks. I came to see for myself. You have 2 minutes. Naruto looked at his friends and clenched his fist, steeling his resolve to go out and meet her. He was stopped by Leon who whispered to him, Naruto-kun. Don't. She'll kill you. That is General Esdeath. Even in our time she was a nasty piece of work that dogged us at every turn. She is merciless. Please. Just go. Run as far as you can. We'll buy you time to get away, and she was interrupted by a slap to the face from her fellow blonde. No. I won't let you throw away your second chance at life. I'm going and you can't stop me. He spoke harshly to her and marched out the door, sweat slowly seeping out of his pores. Leon put a hand to her cheek, a lone tear dripping down her face. Naruto-sama, I love you. She whispered to herself as she watched his retreating form, wondering why he hadn't brought up her earlier confession. Was he still in shock? Or did he believe it to be an inappropriate time to address it? Only time would tell. Outside, Naruto marched forward, his friends reluctantly following him as well. Stopping a short distance away behind the blonde. The whisker-of boy cleared his throat and spoke. General Esdeath. You wanted to talk to me? The blue-haired woman adjusted her cap and looked him over for a moment, as if sizing him up. You know who I am, Booya? She asked with a grin. I heard about you. You're here to capture me, huh? On whose authority? He asked a samurai, however his question was answered by mine. My dad Kazashi sold you out to the Prime Minister. I heard everything. My old man told the minister about you to gain his approval and worm his way into the inner circle. Yelled the pink-haired girl, causing the blue-haired woman to applaud. All true. But regardless, I have my orders. Tell me, Booya, are you afraid of me? Asked the general with a malicious grin. Put on a brave face, Naruto. Don't show fear. His friends thought together, hoping that he wouldn't lose his nerve. I'm downright terrified right now. Naruto answered Esdeath in a blunt manner. Esdeath was silent for a few moments. She'd seen a lot of people put on a brave face and tried to act all big and unafraid, but all those shinobi lost their nerve when they ultimately faced her. There was something different about this one. He gave an honest albeit blunt response, but he's looking at her square in the eye without even flinching. Ha 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 ha. Honesty. I like that. She yelled out while laughing. After a few moments she cleared her throat and began to speak. Here's the thing, Booya, I have orders to bring you in alive. So one of two things will happen, either you can come peacefully and we forget about your friends over there. Or you can struggle as you like and we'll kill them all, and this time we'll make sure they stay dead. What's it gonna be? His friends waited with bated breath, knowing that this was a no-win situation. There was no way to get out of this. Naruto shook his head and spoke in a determined voice. I pick a third option. I'm challenging you to a duel. The sound of glass shattering echoed in the minds of both sides as they wondered if he was in his right mind. Oh? How interesting. You don't seem to have a headband. I'm guessing you must still be in the academy. I'll tell you what, I'll be a good sport. If you win, I'll let you and your friends go. If I win, then you're coming with me as my new pet. She spoke with a malicious grin, then tossed a knife at his feet. He hesitantly glanced between the knife and the general. She chuckled and rubbed her palms together before speaking. Go ahead. The challenge is simple, all you have to do is land one solid blow on me and I'll concede defeat. To make things more fun for me, I'll be fighting you barehanded. I'll even give you 3 chances to get a shot in before I fight back. I'd say I'm being more than fair. He nodded and picked the knife up, giving it a few practice swings. Sheila appeared behind the blonde boy and whispered to him, be very careful, Naruto-kun. Esdeath is brutal and vicious. She's toying with you. Whatever you do, make your shots count. Naruto looked back at her with a small smile and whispered, understood, Shield-chan. And don't worry, I've got an idea. You were all an assassination group, right? A good assassin only needs the one shot. He stepped forward, leaving behind a puzzled Shield. I'm ready. Naruto spoke as he stretched his arms, his friends silently cheering him on, their eyes intensely focused on their friend. Good. Come at me however you like. Spoke the blue-haired woman as she got into a readied stance. All I need is just one shot. Thought the Jinchuriki in his mind. A small smile formed on his face as he began walking towards the blue net at a casual pace, like he was just walking through a garden. A question mark blinked over esdeath's head as she wondered what he was playing at. He continued walking forward until she stopped him with a light shove from an open palm to his chest, a frown forming on her face because of how boring this match was. Then she saw it. A gleam in his eye that showed deadly intent. He attacked her outstretched arm with his knife, forcing her to pull it back. He then thrust the knife up to her face, forcing her to lean back. With a grin he used his free hand to grab the back of her shirt and pull her down to the ground. Didn't take much effort since gravity was doing the work for him. She then felt it, a dark and deadly presence. The visage of a fierce-looking canine staring at her with burning red eyes, snarling at her with bared fangs. It then snapped its jaws, making her flinch and slam her eyes shut. She then felt cold steel cut across her cheek, warm blood beginning to spill out onto her pale skin. She huffed and wheezed as she found herself in a half Nelson, the blonde having cut her cheek with the blade. He licked off the droplets of blood and proudly proclaimed, "I win." With that said, he released her from his grip. The general stared at his back with wide eyes. Never before had she been bested in this manner. She had stared down A and S rank shinobi and never batted an eyelash at them, but this kid made her lose focus and ultimately used her own hubris against her. She noticed that her comrades were in disbelief as well. She sighed and got up from the ground, adjusting her cap. She then applauded the blonde and spoke, "Very well done. I accept defeat. As promised, me and my comrades will stop bothering you. However, there's just one problem. I promised we'd let you go, but how do you plan to escape from Konoha with the martial law in effect? One way or another, the Prime Minister will get you and your power, booyah. Actually, they'll be going now." Spoke the disembodied voice of the rabbit goddess, who was pleased that Naruto had gotten one over on the general. At the sound of her voice, one by one, Naruto's friends were enveloped by a bluish-colored bubble and then sent flying off in different directions. "Hey! Where are you sending them? That's not what you promised," yelled Naruto angrily as his friends flew high into the sky. "Isn't it? I said I'd give you and your friend safe passage out of Konoha. I never specified where you'd be going," replied the disembodied voice as Naruto was sent flying off as well, high into the sky. The Jaeger's jaws dropped to the ground in disbelief at what just happened. Esdeath, however, ran her thumb over the wound on her cheek and for some reason the scar wouldn't stop itching. She sighed and ignored it so she may address her subordinate. "Seems like we've been duped. We'll sort this out later." "What do we do now, Esdeath-sama?" asked one Kurum as she popped a candy in her mouth. "Nothing for now. We don't know where they've gone. But they'll turn up again. And next time, I won't be so easily felled by that little brat," she muttered excitedly at the end, her tongue licking her lips in arousal. Her comrades couldn't tell what she was thinking right now, but it wasn't good. In limbo? That was entertaining. Naruto-kun has passed with flying colors. Spoke Kaguya with a broad grin on her face. Sitting across from her was her son Hagoromo, a deep frown on his face. Yes, impressive. But just what are you playing at, mother? What's your endgame? If you keep meddling with the timeline, the consequences could be catastrophic. He spoke while slamming his shakujo to the floor. Yufufu. Too late for that. Even with or without my interference, IT is coming. And there's no force on heaven or earth that can stop IT from coming. She spoke with apparent glee. "It? What is it?" asked Hagoromo with a raised eyebrow. "Yufufu. You know, for someone who is so allegedly wise, you're awfully short-sighted. Take a closer look at the current state of the world." The rabbit goddess replied while pointing at the window to earth that allowed them to see everything that was happening. Hagoromo looked down and saw that the various villages were in deep shock as news of the fire daimyo's death spread like wildfire. It was then he noticed something was happening. The cages of the major villages were preparing their shinobi for whatever reason. The leaders of the minor villages were sending messenger hawks to and fro, sending dozens of letters. The puzzled expression crossed his face, prompting his mother to speak. Is there really a ruling force in the elemental nations? The daimyos care not for anything except lining their own pockets. Who is really in charge of the elemental nations? Is there anyone at the top of the mountain in all the nations now? Is it one of the 5 cages of the major villages? A coalition of minor villages looking to carve a bigger piece? The brats from the next generation who must bear the mistakes of the previous? Is it the Akatsuki as they blindly follow the ambitions of a man-child who never got past his childhood crush? Or maybe the child of prophecy who still has yet to learn that he is responsible for the turn of a new era? The Uzumaki family has been hidden in the shadows of history. When and where are they going to show themselves? Who shall side with who? Who shall betray who? Who will fire the first shot and ignite the war to end all wars? The daimyos, the uchihas, the senju shall all be cast down into the abyss of history that has been erased and forgotten. It has been centuries since I first ate the forbidden fruit and ruled this world with my power, that is, until I was corrupted by it and fell from grace. You, Hagoromo, didn't take the throne, you merely stood in front of it and took the reins, but then you lost control when you began to share chakra to the world for your ninshuu. What about now? Fufufu, the number of shinobi has been multiplying as of late and the throne still remains empty, waiting for the next person to sit in it. Someday soon, it will start. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow, maybe a month, a year from now it will start. The biggest struggle for supremacy ever, the throne wars. Irikidu Sennin swallowed hard. If what his mother said is true, then may Kami have mercy on the elemental nations. He had dreaded that the throne wars might come, he had hoped the balance of power set in the nations among the villages might prevent it, but now there was nothing, not even his mother could stop it. It didn't even matter if she reset the timeline. The throne wars were coming fast, and there can only be one victor. The Natashiko. In the all-Kunoichi village said to contain some of the most beautiful if not fearsome Kunoichi in the elemental nations, a Ronin was sharpening her spear on a bench in the village square. She was Balsa, a former samurai who failed to protect her daimyo in the land of snow. Now she was a Ronin that lived in Nade. The sound of a whetstone scraping across her spear's blade rang out. "Hiya, Balsa-san," spoke a voice behind her, making the Ronin jump and turn, seeing a masked face of a Hanya. "Ah. Anababa," yelled the Ronin in surprise. The masked woman was the chief advisor to Nade's leader. No one knew who she was or what she looked like under the mask, so most people referred to her as Anababa. Some rumors circulated that she was raped by a shinobi who then carved up her face beyond all hope of healing. To hide her shame and express her hatred, she donned a Hanya mask. She also had the habit of quietly sneaking up on people and scaring the hell out of them. "Oh. It's just you. Please stop doing that, Anababa-san. That's creepy," spoke Balsa with a sigh. "Wow," was all Balsa could say as she plastered one of the wanted posters to a wall. "You know, Balsa, you're a strong and attractive woman. You should leave Nade. Go find yourself a nice husband to pamper you. Live the comfy and cushy lifestyle. Pop out some adorable babies," spoke Anababa with a perverse giggle. The spear wielder chuckled and replied casually, "No thanks. I don't deserve to live a life like that. I'm just a humble Ronin. I refuse to take a husband until I find a worthy lord to grant me leave for marriage." "Oh, you and your principles. You know that no daimyo will hire you after Snow Country. What a damn mess. What are you waiting for? Your liege lord to fall out of the sky?" asked the Hanya masked woman as a small gleam escapes from her eyeholes. A sharp whistling sound was heard and it became steadily louder and louder and louder. They looked about but could find no trace of whatever was making the noise. Finally they looked up and saw something falling right out of the sky. "Duck and cover," yelled Anababa as she and Balsa hid around the corner of a building, but no sound of impact occurred. Peering around the corner, the two noticed that a boy with blonde hair and whisker marks was floating just inches above the ground. By the looks of it, he was asleep. They slowly approached him and poked at his face, making him snort in his sleep, but otherwise he didn't react. "Who is this?" asked the spear user. "I'd say it's your new lord," spoke the masked woman with a chuckle. "What? I didn't agree to that," yelped Balsa in surprise. "Too late. He's your charge now. Bring him to Our Lady's palace. I think this boy will have quite the interesting story," spoke Anababa, the light reflecting off of her violet-colored eyes. With that said, she walked off. A spring in her step as she knew things were gonna get interesting. End chapter 3. Chapter 4. Friends divided. Where are they now? In Nade's palace, Balsa stood watch over her new charge, the blonde boy that mysteriously flew into the heart of Natashiko. Anababa was currently in talks with their leader, Shizuka, who has only been recently appointed to the position. She was young, but a fast learner and trusted Anababa's counsel. They were discussing on what to do with the boy and had agreed to wait for him to wake up and then question him a bit before deciding. The spear wielder kept herself busy by sharpening her weapon, her eyes occasionally glancing at the unconscious blonde. He was relatively handsome for his age and would probably be even more so when he got older. But seriously, Anababa thrust this child onto her as her liege lord. The masked woman had her eccentricities, but this was a new one. He coughed a bit as his eyes fluttered open, he mumbled a bit as he regained consciousness. Balsa knelt next to him and spoke gently. "Easy now. You're okay. Here." She offered a cup of water. Despite his blurry vision, he knew what she was offering. He accepted the cup and tried to drink it slow to avoid choking himself despite his dry throat, demanding he down as much as possible in one go. "Thanks. Who are you?" "Where am I?" he asked with a slightly hoarse voice. "My name is Balsa Yansa. I am a Ronin that formerly served the late daimyo of Snow Country and his daughter. You are now in Nadeshiko." She answered him, he returned the cup to her and she set it down. The look of disbelief crossed his face as he pieced together the events he had previously endured. "Am I a prisoner? I heard stories about what happens to male trespassers in Nadeshiko." He asked in a worried tone, hoping he could leave. "That hasn't been decided. The circumstances to your arrival are quite unique. I have seen all manner of perverts try to sneak into Nadeshiko in some of the most outrageous ways. I once helped catch a guy that did everything he could to look, act, and sound like a girl until he transformed himself into a shemale, tits and all. Tried to pass himself off as a woman that wanted to join Nade, but as soon as he walked in the gates, he got a hard-on. Still swore up and down that he identified as a woman. If you ask me, he was all kinds of perverse and downright crazy." She explained and then added on the story to lighten the mood. Naruto's sweat dropped slightly, but still found it kind of funny. "Oh good. He's awake," spoke a female voice behind him. He turned to face the source of the voice and was met by a Hanya mask. "Ah. Anababa." He yelped out in surprise. "Huh? How is it people always guess my name correctly before I even introduce myself? And why do they greet me so enthusiastically?" The masked woman wondered out loud while tilting her head to the side. "Actually I think they guess your name because of the Hanya mask and they scream out because you scare them when you sneak up from behind," spoke Balsa with an amused expression. "What? How rude. I do not sneak. I just happen to walk very quietly," cried out the masked woman in an offended tone. Out from behind her a girl appeared, her green eyes looking over the blonde for a few moments. "Have you come here to steal our fellow kunoichi, pierce their cats with your spear, and then pack buns into their kitchen appliances?" she asked while pointing an accusatory finger at the blonde. The masked woman snickering. "What did she say?" asked the blonde in complete confusion. Balsa had a look of horror on her face, while her soul almost seemed to be leaking out of her body. She snapped out of her stupor and whispered harshly to the Hanya masked woman, "What the hell have you been teaching her?" "Oh, this and that. Don't worry about it. I don't think it quite clicked with her yet," spoke Hanababi in an amused tone of voice, followed by a chortling sound. Balsa cleared her throat and then spoke what Shizuka-sama meant to ask, as if you mean to cause harm to Nadeshiko and or its residents. The whiskered boy shook his head and replied, "No. I'm not here to cause trouble. I gotta get out of here and find my friends." "That is statement." Shizuka frowned and asked, "Your friends, huh? Sounds like there's a story. Until you explain yourself properly, I won't let you leave." But the the Jinchuriki introduced himself and began to tell his story and what happened to his friends, all the while he wondered where they were and if they were okay. But the Kame's crimson eyes fluttered open. She sat up and saw a tray with a cup and pitcher filled with water. She looked about for her weapon, but didn't see it. Her throat feeling raw and dry and grabbed the pitcher and poured its contents into the cup, then she drank the cool liquid. "Aw. You're awake. Most excellent," spoke a masculine voice behind her. She turned and saw an aged samurai, as evidenced by his armor and katana. He was also carrying her weapon. "My name is Mifune. And I must say, this weapon is most fascinating. One of our smiths was about to sharpen this for you when he realized the blade's secrets and extremely potent and unidentifiable venom. We tested it on a pig and the swine died in under 3 breaths. A weapon like this would make Hanzo the salamander green with envy. How came you by this weapon?" She blinked her eyes a few times and replied to him, "It has been with me for as long as I can remember, Mifune-san. It was found next to me when I was left at my adoptive mother, Kurenayuhi's doorstep." The samurai raised an eyebrow and asked, "Kurenayuhi, eh? I have heard the name. She's fairly famous in Konoha for her genjutsu mastery. You're her daughter? Then you're an awful long way from home. You are now in the land of iron where we samurai dwell. I see. I thank you for caring for me. But I must be going. I need to find my friends immediately." Akame spoke in a worried tone. The samurai nodded and spoke, "I understand. I shall have some of my people search for your friends if you like. But wouldn't you rather go home first?" She shook her head and replied, "No. It's not safe anymore." Mifune stroked his beard and asked her, "Please elaborate," which made her nod and explain her situation. "With Leon. What the hell is with this place? Why are the animals attacking me, damn it?" yelled Leon as she ran through the woods, a group of very large and angry beasts following her everywhere she went. She had tried to fend them off earlier by transforming with her Tigu, but the animals shrugged off her blows like it was nothing. "Yo, you fools. Leave the pretty lady alone or Killer Bee gonna start breaking your bones," yelled out a voice in a rapping manner, then out of nowhere a dark-skinned man kicked the beasts away. They whimpered and scampered off as the man yelled at them in a scolding manner. He adjusted his shades and turned to Leon. "Yo. The name's Killer Bee, don't you see? Sorry about the beasts, they not usually like that," So how about we have ourselves a chat? He rapped, making the blonde girl sweat drop at his manner of speech. Okay. But please talk like a normal person, I'm barely keeping up with what you're saying. She spoke while crossing her arms. You got it. Killer B will put the rap on hold. So tell me, how'd you get here to my island? He asked and sat down on a fallen log. Leon sat on a small rock and replied, I got sent flying here. I know, crazy right? Anyway, call me Leon. Flying, huh? Wow. Never heard of that. But I'm willing to give you the benefit of the doubt. This island you're on now. It'd be my favorite training area and my vacation spot. I tamed every beast on this island, though I guess they came after you cause they thought you were an intruder. He explained, a small gleam in his glasses. I see. Well, thanks for the help, B-san. But I gotta find my friends. I'm kinda worried about them. How do you get off the island? She asked as she got up from her seat. No can do. The boat don't come back for another 2 weeks. But I'll send a message to my big bro to keep an eye out for your friends. Now who they be and what happened to them? Asked Killer B, prompting Leon to explain what happened to them. But Sheil. She's waking up. Spoke a gruff voice as Sheil opened her eyes and was met with 2 masked faces. One was a man wearing bandages around his face, while the other was a person wearing an Anbu-style mask. You have one chance, girlie. Tell me who sent you. Was it Kiri? Asked the man with his Anbatu on his back. Sheil struggled in the ropes binding her and replied, please. No one sent me. I got separated from my friends after encountering esdeath. Just let me go, whoever you are. The swordsman gained a curious look as he asked esdeath. The General Esdeath. What are you doing tangling with someone like that? The purple-haired girl shook her head, replying, she wanted to take my friend Naruto-kun away. But now I don't know where anyone is. Please. Just let me go so I can find him. The 2 masked individuals looked at each other and nodded in agreement that this girl was no threat to them, so they untied her, then introduced themselves, named Zabuza Mamachi. The girl there is Haku. We found you unconscious outside our camp. We thought you might have been with some bounty hunters or Anbu. Also found your scissors. Pretty big, but surprisingly light. What's your name anyway? The spectacled girl adjusted her glasses, then replied, my name is Sheil. I'm sorry for the inconvenience, Abusa-san. If you'll permit me, I really need to go. She attempted to collect her tigu and leave, but a hand on her shoulder stopped her as Abusa spoke in his usual gruff manner, not so fast there. I want to hear more on you meeting esdeath and surviving. Sheil sighed and then began to explain what had happened. But Chelsea. Sumaide-sama. She's waking up. Spoke a female voice. The insides of Chelsea's head throbbed painfully as though she had a migraine or a hangover. She sat up and found herself looking at a pig. Eh? The pig can talk. She yelled in surprise, then she snatched up the piggy and began tickling its belly to get it to say something else. What's your name? How can you talk? Speak to me. She yelled while the pig was squealing and letting out an oinking laughter. Wow. Already awake and energetic, huh? Spoke a female voice which belonged to a blonde woman standing in the doorway. Chelsea chuckled and released the pig. Sorry. I thought your pig was talking. Wait, you look kinda familiar. Have I seen your picture somewhere? The blonde woman chuckled and replied, you might have. I'm Tsunade of the Sanin. This is my assistant Shizune. Very nice to meet you. We found you out on the road so we brought you with us. Where you from? Get separated from your family? No. Not exactly. My name is Chelsea and well, I guess I'm kind of lost. I got separated from my friends, but well, now I don't know where they are. She spoke rather sadly, wishing that she knew where her friends were. I see. Well, we can help you find your friends. Who are they? Asked Shizune with a kind smile. The auburn-haired girl smiled and began to talk about her friends. With mine. Oh where am I? Muttered mine as she rubbed her head. Her weapon pumpkin lying in a corner. She sighed and got up, her legs feeling a bit shaky. Hold up there. Where do you think you're going? Asked a female voice as the door in front of mine opened, revealing a girl with black hair and pink eyes. I gotta get out of here and find my property. Don't try and stop me. Yelled mine in an upset tone of voice. Boy now. Is that any way to say thanks for us saving you? My name's Kuritsuchi, what's yours? The black-haired girl asked. Mine puffed her cheeks and answered, it's mine. Now I gotta go. Thanks for the help. She muttered bitterly while puffing her cheeks. My. What's your hurry? Spoke a tiny old man that walked into the room while rubbing his back. And he was wearing cage robes. Huh? Hey old man. Are you a cage? Asked mine with wide-eyed expression. The aged man nodded and replied, correct. I am the Tsuchikage, Anoki. You're in Iowa. You came flying right into my office. Craziest thing I've seen in a long time. So, what's your hurry? The pink-haired girl sniffled then answered heatedly, if you really wanna know, my friends are out there and my precious property is all by himself. He might be a useless idiot that needs help, but he's my idiot. And I gotta find them now. The age cage sweat dropped and muttered, this might take a while. Okay, then mine-san. From the top please. The Pinket sighed and reluctantly told them the whole story from the beginning. With Bullet. So this is Kumo, huh? Asked Bullet as he lifted weights with the rakeage, himself. After he had woken up, one Mabui guided him to the rakeage who was keeping in shape at the time. Bullet, being raised by a taijutsu specialist, respected that and joined in of his own volition. As it turned out, the rakeage was a pretty reasonable guy. That's correct. You landed right on top of the rakeage tower. Where you from? Asked the rakeage in curiosity. Bullet put down his weights to comb his pompadour and answered Konoha. We met a General esdeath and her gang, my pal Naruto-kun beat her and well, we got sent flying every which way. The rakeage raised an eyebrow, then let out an amused chuckle as he asked, wait a sec, did you just say your friend defeated the General esdeath? I've gotta hear that one. Bullet flashed a smile, then spoke, well, I guess it wouldn't hurt to tell you while we wait for word about my friend's locations. Anyway, we were at the Golden Leaf restaurant when suddenly he told the story as he and the rakeage continued lifting weights together and so far Ace seemed impressed by it. With Lubbock. Boy. You awake yet? Asked a female voice as a boot lightly kicked the green-haired teen in the ribs. He stirred awake and found himself looking up at an intimidating woman with short silvery hair, an eye patch and a prosthetic arm made of iron and steel. Do I know you? Asked Lubbock with a raised eyebrow, a vague feeling of familiarity coming from this woman. Not sure. You sure as hell look familiar though. Don't know why. Anyway, call me Agenda. Ronin for hire. She replied and introduced herself, taking a drag from a thin cigar and blowing smoke. My name's Lubbock. Thanks for the help. Mind my asking where I am? He asked, hoping to get some information to his current location. In response, the silver-haired woman opened the entrance to the tent they were in and ushered him outside, showing that he was in a large camp filled shinobi bearing scratched-off headbands and others of the mercenary type. You're in my camp, we're just outside of Odo right now. Our employers are talking with Odo's leadership. Spoke Nagenda as she took another drag from her cigar. I don't get it. What's with all the missing nin and mercs? Asked Lubbock as he adjusted his signature coat. We've all been hired on by a coalition of minor villages. They want us to go on some big campaign for them so they can take more territory and conquer one of the major villages. Our numbers are supplemented by the minor villages' own shinobi, and the non-shinobi ones are providing us the funds. Problem is, we aren't ready to go to war with anyone, nor has a target been picked. So we're a bit stuck and sitting on our asses. She explained to him in a matter-of-fact tone. You're all pretty open about this. He commented while scratching the back of his head. You planning on ratting us out to anyone? She asked him with a sharp edge to her voice. Nah. Not my problem. I gotta go find my buddies before that esdeath does. He replied, his response causing the silver-haired woman to nearly choke on her cigar. She coughed out smoke as she tried to catch her breath. Once she regained her composure she asked him what was that about esdeath. What the hell did you do to gain her attention? Lubbock merely crossed his arms and began to explain the incident around what happened between him, his friends and esdeath. Much to Nagenda's astonishment. Back with Naruto. Amazing. You took down the infamous General esdeath. Shouted Shizuka in amazement, her green eyes possessing a sparkle. Only because she handicapped herself and underestimated me. She won't fall for it again. Come to think of it, it could take weeks to find my friends. No doubt they're scattered all over the elemental nations right now. Spoke the blonde at the end in an aggravated tone. Onababa himmed to herself, violet eyes twinkling from her mask's eyeholes. Naruto-kun, quick question. Even if you find your friends, what then? You just told us in your story how 2 of your friends perished, but were brought back by a strange power you hold no knowledge or understanding of. What if you can't summon this power again? You and your friends would be helpless before esdeath and her group and more importantly the very world itself. Naruto was silent for a few moments, he knew she was right. Even if he found his friends they wouldn't be strong enough to fight back. The solution however was relatively simple, you're right. If that's the case we'll have to get stronger and stronger. But where will we train? Who will train us? We can't get stronger by ourselves. Not to mention how am I supposed to tell them that if I can't find them? Balsa and Shizuka both glanced at the Hanyu-masked woman. A chortle escaping from her mask. All good points Naruto-kun. Fortunately, I have a suggestion for you. It might be risky and in some ways absolutely insane, but I think it'll be worth it. The blonde listened intently as she gave her suggestion to him. A sly grin crossing his lips when she finished, that sounds both crazy and bold. I like it. The blonde exclaimed, making the 3 ladies nod in agreement. I'll get right on it. Yelled Shizuka as she called for her kunoichi to gather what they needed. The next day. In Konoha. Remind us again, how did you lose not just the Jinchuriki but his pathetic friends as well, who kidnapped my Meinheim? Yelled Kizashi Haruno at the top of his lungs, glaring sharp daggers at esdeath, who was unfazed by him. As I have already explained. We cornered them at the Inyazuka compound and then they mysteriously flew off into the sky. And your adopted daughter was defending him. She spoke coolly while using a dagger to clean the dirt under her fingernails. Honest watched the exchange quietly while munching on a pudding. Esdeath had never failed in a mission before, it stood to reason that some form of oddity had interfered in the Jaeger's mission. Besides, esdeath was there and Kizashi wasn't. So it was her word against his. And Kizashi's was relatively baseless. The Jinchuriki has been trying to corrupt my precious Meinheim for years. And you have the gall to say that she defended that thing of her own volition? The pink-haired man asked in a heated tone. Esdeath used the tip of her dagger to push her cap upward so she may look Kizashi in the eyes. As soon as their gazes met, his eyes averted slightly from hers. Whine and cry all you like, Counselor-san. But truth is truth. If you have a problem with that, then why don't you suck it up and handle it like a man? She asked with a sadistic grin as she traced the cut on her cheek that was slowly healing and showing scar tissue. He said nothing as he sank into his seat, a defeated look on his face. That's what I thought. She spoke in a mocking tone. The pink-haired man balled his fists, then turned to the Prime Minister Honest Sama. The higher-ups of Konoha are in an uproar. The Sandaime is furious at the loss of not only the Jinchuriki, but also of the various individuals whom were adopted into various clans and homes of several exemplary jonin. Now he is breathing down my neck. I think he suspects I told you about the Jinchuriki. The Prime Minister took another bite of his dessert and replied, don't worry Kizashi-kun. You'll be protected by Daimyo-sama. I'll make sure of it. But in exchange for your protection you will need to continue handling the civilian council. Not a problem, Daimyo-sama. But there is one thing that concerns me. We do not know where the Jinchuriki is. He could be anywhere in the elemental nations. And even worse, he could join up with any village of his choosing to plan his revenge against Konoha. Or more specifically, US. Spoke Kizashi in a troubled tone of voice that made Honest silently agree with him. Such a thing could indeed prove problematic. The doors suddenly burst open, revealing esdeath's subordinate Run, who was rushing and yelling Esdeath-sama. Big news. He slammed a newspaper on the table in front of her while panting for breath. Raising an eyebrow, she took the paper and read it over. As she read it, a large amused grin stretched across her face, threatening to tear her cheeks apart. On the front page was a picture of Naruto Uzumaki, his arms crossed as though he were posing for the picture. The text on the page read as follows: Kyuubi Jinchuriki speaks out. Accuses Konoha's Prime Minister Honest of murdering late daimyo and attempted to enslave the Jinchuriki himself. He pledges to declare open war on Konoha in 2 years' time. Hahaha. How interesting. It looks like that brat is spreading some pretty damning accusations. He has even declared a threat of war. Squealed Esdeath in amusement as she slid the newspaper over to Honest. The Prime Minister looked over the text and thick veins bulged on his forehead. That brat had the gall to make threats and hurl accusations like that. He was surprised at how the brat made such an accurate accusation, but he had no physical evidence to prove such a claim. However, such an accusation with or without proof would cause people to start asking questions. He needed to spin this around as soon as possible and grind these rumors to a halt. Esdeath got up from her seat and adjusted her cap as she walked out. Oi. Where are you going, Esdeath? Asked Kizashi with narrowed eyes. Bite to train, of course. Naruto-kun isn't going to sit on his hands in those 2 years after all. And I can't afford to be lazy. Come on, Run-san. We mustn't get fat and lazy. She spoke with a smile, causing her subordinate to nod and follow her out. The cut on her cheek itched and burned, making her scratch at it. For some reason, the mark left by the Jinchuriki wouldn't stop bothering her. Dr. Stylish assured her that it wasn't due to an infection. But still it itched like hell. Admittedly, however, there was something about that boy. She wasn't usually the type that liked them young, but there was something compelling about the boy. The rush of her brief duel, the feeling of him cutting across her cheek, the thrill of meeting someone who had the stones to look her in the eyes. Something about all this made her heart race. She was a soldier by heart, born for the battlefield. But recently she had become bored and felt empty until that fateful night. And she wanted to feel that same heart-pounding rush again. Naruto Uzumaki, I hope you grow stronger. I do hope you entertain me more. I look forward to our next meeting. Only next time, I will be setting the stage. She whispered to herself, a blush spreading across her cheeks as she stroked the cut on her cheek. An aroused moan escaped her lips, making Run sweat nervously and wonder what had gotten into the general. Meanwhile in Konoha. At Naruto. Reckless as ever. Mumbled Hiruzen as he worried for the boy and his adopted grandson Lubbock. The morning newspaper in his hand. True enough. This is crazy even for him. Hokage-sama, I'm begging you on my knees. Let me go and find him. Please. Begged Anko Mitarashi on her knees. She wouldn't normally do such a thing, but Naruto meant the world to her, but that was a story for another time. No. I understand how you feel, Anko-san. However, doing such a thing could put him in danger. For now, let's leave him to his own devices. Naruto-kun is young, but he has a lot of potential in him. I know that someday soon, he shall make things right. Spoke Hiruzen, urging caution. I can't just sit still, Hokage-sama. Yelled the snake user with hot tears leaking down her face. How do you think I feel? All we can do for now is to put our trust in Naruto-kun. This declaration of war on Konoha may yet be its salvation. He muttered while taking a drag from his pipe. Anko could only nod and accept defeat for now. But deep down, she prayed that Naruto and his friends were okay. With Akame. What's this? Akame mumbled to herself as she read the morning newspaper while enjoying her breakfast. She took a sip of tea, then nearly choked on it as she did a spit take. She read over the article several times, then spoke out loud, I understand, loud and clear, Naruto-kun. Leave it to me. She ran down the hall and pulled the sliding doors open and yelled out, Mifune-san. Please train me. Teach me the way of the sword. The samurai was surprised by the suddenness of Akame's entrance that he nearly fell back from the force of her shout. What the? Akame-san. Why the sudden change? Earlier you were determined to find your friends. Questioned the aged samurai, who was shocked by her sudden change in attitude. She threw the newspaper at his face, making it smack against him. He removed it from his face so that he might read it himself. Ah, I see. This is your friend, isn't it? He asked as he slowly pieced the puzzle together. Exactly. It's a message. He didn't directly say it, but Naruto intends to train for those 2 years. I need to do the same. I need to be the best swordswoman I can be. Please teach me the samurai arts. She declared with a determined look in her eyes. Mifune was moved by her tone and declaration. A small smile appeared on his face as he spoke. I cannot deny such a request. Very well. I, Mifune, shall take you as my apprentice. However, you shall not be permitted to use your weapon. If you want it returned to you, then you must prove yourself worthy of the title, samurai. He then tossed her a wooden katana. She caught it in her hands. With a nod she bowed and spoke, I shall not fail, Naruto. No matter the cost. With Leon. Man. How boring. Mumbled Leon as she lied on the grass, looking up at the sky. She still had to wait for that damn boat before she could leave. And she had nothing to do. She then took note of a hawk approaching the island. Oi. B-san. What's with that hawk? Pillar B emerged from the bushes and answered her. That be a messenger hawk my big bro sends me, usually with letters or with newspapers holding important stuff, so I can keep track of what happens back home. From above the hawk screeched and dropped a newspaper which landed on the blonde girl's lap. Having nothing better to do, she reads the front page. For a few moments she was silent, then she sprinted off into the woods without warning. Hey. Where you going? Yelled B as he chased after her. It didn't take long to catch up to her thanks to his training, but he was still amazed at how fast she could run. I have to get stronger. Yelled Leon as she ran through several bushes. Ah. That's a good thing to do. Shouted the Jinchuriki with a grin. I have to get much stronger. She yelled as she picked up speed, her legs changing into a blur. That's good too. B yelled as he was now having to get serious to keep up with her. Much stronger. She screamed, running all the faster, leaving a dust cloud behind her. Eh? That much? Yelled B in surprise at this newfound desire to train from her. As he nearly tripped over his feet to keep up with her. Finally she stopped to catch her breath and shoved the newspaper into the Hachibi Jinchuriki's chest. Naruto-sama is planning on training. I can't get left behind. B-san, I can't. The last time my friends needed me, I was too weak and unprepared. I won't be like that ever again. I'm gonna train and get stronger and kick the ass of every beast on this island. I won't ever fail anyone ever again. The Hachibi Jinchuriki smiled and spoke to the blonde girl, don't you fret none, Leon. Cause Killer B is gonna teach you good. When I'm done with you, you're gonna be the strongest monster on this island. He promised her, offering her a fist bump. She grinned and knocked her fist against his, accepting him as her trainer. With Shiel. Shiel was walking through the market of a nearby town, doing some shopping for food for Zabuza and Haku to help repay them for caring for her until she found a clue about her friends. She carried the bag of food with a small smile as she hummed a little tune. She then passed by a newspaper stand and glanced at the newspapers for a brief moment. She then froze and slowly stepped backwards and turned her attention to the newspapers again. It was an article about Naruto. She read it over, but then a look of confusion crossed her face due to her airheadedness. She didn't get the message at first. 2 years? Why so long is it to prepare? Ah. I get it now. Naruto-kun is gonna train and get stronger. I need to do the same. Oh, but I don't have anyone to teach me. Wait. Yes, I do. Zabuza-san can't teach me. She yelled, then rushed back to their camp. After some minutes of running she made it back to the swordsman's camp and was out of breath. Why the rush? Was someone trying to follow you? Asked Zabuza with narrowed eyes. No, Zabuza-san. Please train me. Shield cried out almost desperately. Me? Train you? Are you kidding me? You want to be trained by a wanted man? Asked the swordsman with an amused expression underneath the mask of bandages. Haku looked on with a curious expression. I don't care about what you did. I refuse to accept that you're a bad person since you helped me, even when you at first thought I was a threat. Please. I want you to teach me. Naruto-kun is counting on me. She exclaimed while leaking tears from her eyes. Nah. You're not worth my. He attempted to refuse her, but before he could finish his sentence, Shield grabbed him by the waist and with a ferocious roar, suplexed him into the ground. I refuse your refusal. You will train me. I won't take no for an answer, you jerk. She yelled while kicking at him. The only reason she hadn't pounced on him was because Haku was holding her back. Okay. I get the message. Heh. Gotta say, Shield, for an airhead, you've got a nice set of brass balls. Alright then, tell me, do you know anything about the silent killing technique? He asked as he got up from the ground. A certain gleam in his eye when Shield shook her head. Good. I think those scissors of yours will work great with it. He spoke as he retrieved her tigu and handed it over to her, now prepared to begin her training. But Chelsea. And don't come back. Yelled the owner of a casino as he slammed the doors to his establishment. Wow. That's the third one we've been banned from. Spoke Shizune as she was helping carry several large bags stuffed full of cash. Since helping put Chelsea, the lollipop lover proved to be an excellent poker player. Perhaps a little too good. She had cleared out the casino so much that they banned them from playing there. But the cash she earned was helping clear Tsunade's debts. Damn girl, you're good at this. A few more of these and my debts will be cleared. Spoke Tsunade with a happy expression as she gave Chelsea a hug. The girl merely chuckled at the praise, but was happy to help out her rescuers a bit. Shizune took note of a nearby newspaper dispenser, then yelled out, Chelsea. I think you need to see this. At her call, the lollipop lover approached and read the front page of the paper through the dispenser's display. A frown appeared on her face for a moment, but then she smiled and spoke. Understood, Naruto-kun. I'll be ready in 2 years. Tsunade-san. Please train me. The Sanin blanched at her request for a moment but then replied, sorry. No can do, kid. I'm not interested in teaching a brat like you my healing arts or my super strength. Chelsea frowned for a moment, then spoke in a malicious tone. Oh. Then I guess you don't want my help to clear your debts. Good luck in winning all that cash with your crappy luck. That's blackmail, you little shit. Screamed the Sanin as she flushed red from anger. I clear your debts. You train me for 2 years. I'd say that is a fair trade. The girl replied as she rolled the lollipop around in her mouth. Tsunade slumped her shoulders in defeat, knowing she could never hope to clear out her debts on her own. Fine. Okay. You win. At least tell me why, okay? She asked while crossing her arms. Chelsea removed the lollipop from her mouth and answered, it is for the sake of a special someone that won't know what to do without me. That's so? Heh. Okay then. You're a cheeky brat, but I like you all the same. Hahaha. Okay then, me and Shizune will be training you from here on. And for blackmailing me a bit ago, I'm not gonna go easy on you. Your first lesson, dodge. She yelled at the end and chased after Chelsea with a clenched fist. Shizune chased them as well, pleading for her sensei to take it easy on the girl. With mine. No word yet, Kuro-chan? Asked Mine as she munched on a strawberry parfait. The black-haired girl shook her head and replied, sorry Mine-chan. Wish I had news for you. But progress has been slow on finding the whereabouts of your friends. In response, the pink-haired girl sighed. She was worried about her friends and property. Naruto must have been alone and scared someplace, all alone and crying out for his owner to save him. She snapped herself out of that image and blushed slightly, but still, a grateful Naruto could lead to Mayani foot massages. She giggled to herself in a part sinister and part perverse manner that made Kuritsuchi sweat drop and comment, Mine-chan. You're making a scary face. This brief interaction was cut short as Inoki entered the room and threw a newspaper onto the table in front of the girls. I think you'll find that pretty interesting. Your property has made headlines. He spoke in an amused expression. She read over the paper for a moment then scowled, that idiot. Just doing whatever he likes. Seems he's getting pretty uppity without me. Hahaha. Still, if he's gonna get stronger, then I need to do the same. But how am I gonna do that? She asked more to herself since she wasn't good at Taijutsu and the like, since she practiced long-range attacks with Pumpkin. What about our explosive clay? Asked the black-haired girl while providing a suggestion. Kuritsuchi. Don't just blurt out things like that. Our explosive clay isn't meant for outsiders. Especially since Tadara went rogue. Yelled at Tsuchikage with steam coming out of his ears. Explosive clay? Asked a pink-haired girl in curiosity. Such a thing could prove really useful in setting up traps and the like, which would complement her long-range attacks quite nicely. Yes. But we aren't gonna teach you how to use it. Yelled Inoki as he crossed his arms only for mine to dump her parfait on his head. Oh no. That's not gonna fly here, old man. Tell me more about this explosive clay or I'll really give you a backache. She yelled angrily while glaring daggers at the aged Tsuchikage. Yes, mine-san. Sorry, mine-san. Replied the Tsuchikage in fear of his back being snapped in two. So easy. Yelled the cage's granddaughter while slapping at the air at how easily her grandfather caved. With Bullet. Breakage-san. Breaking news. Yelled Mabui as she entered A's private training room with the morning newspaper in hand. Bullet wiped his sweat-covered forehead with a towel and accepted the newspaper. After reading it over he let out a loud roar and immediately started hitting at a punching bag. His fists pounded hard and fast as he let loose on it, finally with one powerful haymaker he caused a tear in the punching bag which leaked out a large amount of stuffing. The Raikage noticed this and asked while lifting a dumbbell, "What's got you so worked up, kid?" "My little bro Naruto-kun plans on training. I gotta do the same. As his big bro by bond, I cannot sit still and let him do this alone. He was always weaker than me, but he never stopped trying to improve himself. He's gonna need all the help he can get. And I, as a man, refuse to leave my little bro behind," he exclaimed while giving a thumbs up. "Little bro, huh? I know what you mean by that. You want to get stronger to protect him, right? Yosh. I understand perfectly. I will train you so you can protect your little bro and your friends. That is the way a man should live. Protecting what matters with his fists." He yelled while crying tears of passion for brotherly bonds. Bullet shared in his tears as he bowed in respect to the Raikage, ready to begin his training with the Raikage and his Tiguing Curcio. With Lubbock. "Okay then. I'm off. Thanks for all the help, Nagenda-san." Lubbock spoke in gratitude as he adjusted the pack he carried on his back. "You sure you want to leave? Where will you go?" asked the silver-haired woman while smoking a thin cigar. "Not sure. I think I'll start in Iowa for now and work around the other major villages before moving on to the minor ones," he replied as he pulled out a map and looked it over for a few moments before putting it back into his coat's pocket. "As you wish. I hope you find your friends, Lubbock-san. I wish you luck." She spoke with a small smile. The green-haired teen nodded and was about to leave to find his friends but was cut short by a shout that sounded like boo-oos. One of Nagenda's subordinates came running up with a newspaper in hand and looked it over for a few moments. "Lubbock-san. You might want to hold off on your trip for a bit." She then handed the newspaper over to him so he could read it. The green-haired teen chuckled as he muttered that Naruto. He gets into all sorts of things. Heh. Well, I guess he's training right now. Guess I'd better do the same. Nagenda smiled and then decided to offer him some training, you know. I used to work with esdeath back in the day. I'm sure I can teach you a few things. Lubbock was touched by the offer. He looked down to his tigu he wore on his hands. The threads had many uses, but he wondered if he could find even more ways to use them. He nodded and decided to accept her offer. "Thanks. I'd like that. But why the sudden offer?" Nagenda shrugged and blew out some smoke, replying, "No idea. I guess I've got a good feeling about that Naruto kid you were talking about." She smiled in amusement as she glanced at the newspaper in his hand. Meanwhile in Kiri. Kyuubi Jinchuriki, eh? He can only be of Uzumaki descent. Spoke Hanmei Terumi as she clipped off the newspaper article and added into a scrapbook. "The first of many on my collection." She spoke to herself, knowing that this wouldn't be the last time she would hear about the boy. Still fantasizing about that dead clan Mei-sama. The Uzumakis had their day, but they are now gone. There's no chance for their revival. Spoke Wanao as he looked over a battle plan to overtake the Mizukage Tower. "Excellent. If we succeed in defeating Yagura, then you shall be doing all non-essential paperwork for me for the next 5 years." She spoke in a malicious tone, making the shinobi wonder what made this woman so fanatically loyal to a dead clan. "And now? Did you just think badly about the Uzumaki clan?" "No, Mei-sama. I wasn't. I swear." He squealed out on horror at the fact she seemingly read his mind. "Good. And remember, Ao-sen, I know where you sleep." She spoke with a dark glint in her eye that promised pain unimaginable. "With Naruto. Think they got the message?" Naruto asked as he stretched out his limbs. Balsa doing the same and also giving her spear a few practice swings. "I believe so. I'm confident your friends shall begin their training just like you." The spear wielder replied with a small smile. "Hey there. I got you a present, Naruto-kun." Spoke a voice behind the blonde that made him quickly turn around and was met by the face of a wolf pup. "Huh? A wolf?" he asked while tilting his head. "Huh? Were you expecting me?" asked Onababa with an amused chortle. She then cleared her throat and spoke this here as Ami-chan. I thought she would be good for you, Naruto-kun. She will make an ideal ninja hound. She handed the pup over to him, he accepted it with a smile and petted the snowy white wolf pup's soft fur. Wow. Thanks. So what's my training consisting of exactly? The blonde asked in curiosity and excitement. A twinkle blinked into existence from one of the eye holes on the Hanya mask as she replied, a full crash course survival training, putting you against the entirety of Nadeshiko. The blonde paled in horror at that statement. Say what? As in the whole village will be chasing me? He asked nervously. Oh, don't worry. We'll only send small groups the first few weeks to be fair, but then they will keep getting bigger until the whole village is after you. Also, in the name of fairness, we'll give you the courtesy of eating and using the restroom and learning some new techniques before we resume chasing you. Otherwise get used to sleeping with one eye open. Onibaba explained with a tone of sadistic glee. Naruto-san. I think you had better run. Right now. Balsa suggested as she noted a group of 7 kunoichi waiting to pounce. You'd best listen to her. Don't worry. You'll get a 60-second head start. Your time starts now. Spoke the Hanyu masked woman as her violet eyes shined from out of her mask's eyeholes. With a yell the blonde Jinchuriki took off leaving a dust cloud behind while screaming out, what the hell did I get into now? End chapter 4. Chapter 5. 2 years later. The results of training. Part 1. Hahaha. Faster, Ami-chan. Faster. Yelled one Naruto Uzumaki as he rode on the back of his partner, Ami-chan. The she-wolf barked in confirmation as she picked up the pace, her paws kicking up dust as she sped down the road. Slow down. Slow down. Way too fast. Yelled one Shizuka as she desperately clung to Ami-chan's fur. Her face showing shades of green. You should learn to live a little, Shizuka-chan. Even Balsa is having fun. The blonde shouted while looking over his shoulder. The spear wielder chuckling as she held on tight. Onibaba. How dare you talk me into this? The leader of Nade screamed in anger while glaring at the masked woman. The Hanya masked woman merely laughed and was enjoying the ride on the large she-wolf's back. Naruto laughed as well, he was surprised that Ami-chan had grown large enough to be ridden on by multiple people and capable of fighting off summons, but he certainly loved the feeling of the wind rushing by him and the feeling of Ami-chan's soft fur, it felt like flying on a cloud. The she-wolf stopped at a river for a few moments to have a drink of water and let her human passengers stretch out their legs. Naruto sighed as he stuffed his hands in his pockets. He no longer sported that orange jumpsuit, he now sported a black trench coat with dark orange lapels, as well as jeans and a pair of combat boots. He patted his partner Ami-chan and commented, it has been 2 years now. I wonder how everyone is doing now. His partner barked in response then resumed drinking. A small screech sound came as a bat descended from the sky carrying a black envelope. Naruto recognized it as a very specially trained messenger bat, some say it could find the intended recipient anywhere in the world. The blonde took the black envelope from the bat, causing it to squeak a few times, then fly away. He broke the wax seal keeping the envelope shut and pulled out a letter addressed to him by the General esdeath herself. He meant to himself as he began to read its contents. Greetings to you, Naruto Uzumaki. It has been 2 years since your disappearance, by now you and your friends will no doubt be coming to take your revenge on Prime Minister Honest, his child daimyo puppet and possibly myself and my Jaegers. I understand that perfectly. I now take pen in hand and cordially invite you and your friends to a very special celebration to commemorate your return tomorrow. I call it the Festival of Blood. There will be numerous competitions, games and prizes. And more importantly, you and your friends are all invited and you should know that Honest and myself will be here personally. Inside this envelope shall be a golden ticket, your all-access pass to participate in the fun and games. Yours truly, General esdeath. With a raised eyebrow he pulled out the mentioned ticket that seemed to be laced with gold dust on the paper. Ooh. Fancy. Seems like the general is expecting you. It could be a trap. Spoke Onibaba with a chortle. Maybe it is. Last time we met, esdeath was caught off guard and she underestimated me. This time, she's setting the stage. Regardless of whether it is or isn't a trap we need to get through esdeath before we can kill the fattest prime minister and his cronies. Now let's double time it. He replied in an excited manner for testing his newfound strength. He let out a sharp whistle which got Ami-chan's attention. With an affirmative bark she allowed her human companions to climb onto her back. Let's go Ami-chan, on the double. Yip yip. He yelled urging the she-wolf forward, with a small glint in her eye, she dashed across the plains as fast as her powerful legs could carry her. The next day. In Konoha. It has been 2 years now since the daimyo incident, after esdeath failed in capturing Naruto, and after she saw that newspaper article 2 years ago, she has since tripled her usual training schedule and grew all the more powerful. She also prepared a grand stage unlike no one had ever seen before in the history of the elemental nations. The Festival of Blood. A grand festival of her own design, the aforementioned event taking place in a grand coliseum that she personally designed with the assistance of Dr. Stylish. Built to house tens of thousands of spectators, the arena designed to take in hundreds of competitors, made resistant to all but the most powerful of S-rank jutsu, and some more interesting twists she added. It was here she would not only test the mettle of Naruto and his friends, but also amuse herself with the blood and gore made from foreign shinobi. No expense was spared in her grand plans for Naruto and for weakening the other nations by depleting their numbers. The crowds were excited over this new event, as were the competition from all across the nations. All eagerly awaited esdeath's announcement for the festival. From the general's private box, esdeath leaned back in her chair, a large grin plastered on her face as she traced the scar on her cheek that she received 2 years ago. Still to this day it wouldn't stop itching, no matter how much she scratched. "General. It's time for a stylish speech," spoke Dr. Stylish as he tossed her a microphone. She easily caught it in her hands and then walked forward to the balcony where everyone could see her. She clicked it on, causing some feedback to sound through the speakers, which shushed the crowd. She cleared her throat and began to speak into the mic. "Good morning everyone. I am your host. The one. The only. General esdeath." The crowd cheered in response to her enthusiastic introduction. She soaked in the cheers for a moment, then began to speak. "It is my great pleasure to welcome one and all from all villages across the nations. I have taken great pains and expenses to give you the first ever multinational festival, the Festival of Blood. The grand competition where the losers go home broken and empty-handed or in a pine box. While the winners shall attain riches and glory beyond their wildest dreams. Anyone and everyone is free to participate at their own leisure or risk. From the most seasoned veterans to the untested greenhorns. Genin, Chunin, Jonin, unscripted, all are welcome to join. There's only a single rule: there are no rules except the ones I, myself, set. Absolutely anything goes, feel free to use whatever means you like to achieve victory. Just don't fall victim to someone else's dirty tricks. Now to explain how things will work, the games that are played shall be randomly selected from a roulette, manned by Dr. Stylish. Some are as simple as a duel, others are more complex. But we'll get more into that later. The winners of a previous game are granted exemption from playing the same game twice. In other words, if there are winners who won the dog race event, they won't have to play again. There's something else you should be aware of: if I feel that some competitors are doing too well, then I shall deploy one of my Jaegers as eliminators to cut out the extra competition. Now then, some special guests in possession of the ultra-rare golden tickets are unaccounted for. So please enjoy the following preliminary battle royale. Participants in each event are randomly selected. So cross your fingers and hope your favored competitors get pick and survive. The last 5 participants standing win. Once she was finished speaking, she turned off the microphone with a small click. With a grin, Dr. Stylish started the randomizer to select the participants of this round. For the most part it was nothing but nobodies, no major names this time. How disappointing. No one interesting this time. Ah well, at least this will get rid of the unstylish cannon fodder, commented the doctor as he adjusted his glasses. Esdeath merely sat down into her seat, lacing her fingers together as she spoke. "Don't worry, doctor. Naruto-kun will come. Then things will get really entertaining." A large grin crossed her face as she scratched at the scar on her cheek, which didn't go unnoticed by the doctor. Ever since that night that the Jinchuriki had escaped and planted that scar on the general's face, she had become obsessed with the enigma of Naruto Uzumaki. Flashback. It had been almost 1 year since the Kyuubi Jinchuriki's disappearance, and esdeath and her Jaegers were training hard to get even stronger and prepare for whatever Naruto might throw at them when he returns. Esdeath wiped the sweat from her forehead with a towel and then asked Dr. Stylish, "I trust you have been carefully researching Naruto and his friends from that night." The doctor grinned and replied eagerly, "But of course, General. I haven't left a single stone unturned. Laziness is most unstylish. Naruto Uzumaki, at first glance he appears to be a nobody. A failure if you would. Failed the academy twice, grades were at rock bottom the first year, but slowly improved over the course of the second. Now here's where things get interesting. On closer inspection of the boy's grades, it appears that his tests were different from the other students. Naruto's tests had questions of a most complex nature." The blue-haired woman meant to herself as she placed a hand on her rapier, so it would seem someone was deliberately sabotaging him. For what reason? Unknown reasons. But most probably a personal grudge. The rigged exams and tests have all been directly linked to the academy teachers of Naruto's class, Iruka and Mizuki. The doctor answered with a smirk. The general scratched at her scarred cheek and spoke, "I see. Looks like Naruto-kun is getting more and more interesting. How fares the construction of my coliseum?" "It is a massive undertaking, General. Those designs and features you requested from our contacts in Snow Country aren't cheap. And the workers are demanding more pay for handling such dangerous machines and equipment. The doctor answered in a slightly nervous tone, knowing that an angered esdeath is never a good thing. I don't care. Pay the workers what they want so long as they stay on schedule. If they fall behind then they'll lose their paychecks and arms. I want no expense spared for this project of mine. She spoke with a malicious tone and smile. A blush crosses her face as she resumes the habit of tracing the scar she received a year ago. A sensual moan escaping her lips as she imagined her and Naruto dancing together in the throes of battle and death. The doctor raised an eyebrow and had a gut feeling that something happened to the general when she faced the Jinchuriki. He couldn't explain it, but it seemed like she has become obsessed about him, and now this obsession was manifesting into the desire to meet Naruto Uzumaki on her own terms. The doctor merely adjusted his glasses and resumed his work in keeping up with the construction of Esdeath's Coliseum. Then flashback. Dr. Stylish. The gong if you please. Asked the general impatiently as she wanted to get this boring match over with so the festival can go to a more exciting event. With a nod, the doctor pressed a button preparing the automated gong to be sounded. Hidden up high in a shadowy corner of the Coliseum stands Zetsu, the spy of Akatsuki. How boring. Not really anyone interesting this round. Muttered the white half in disappointment. Agreed. However, we aren't necessarily here for games. The Kyuubi Jinchuriki is rumored to be coming here. Our objective is to observe him and see how much he has developed over the past 2 years since he went missing. Spoke the black half as it scolded the white. Yeah, I know. But it wouldn't hurt to watch for some entertainment. I just wish something interesting would happen. Grumbled the white half. A loud crash sounded out behind them, causing Zetsu to turn and look down, then a figure flew past them and sailed high into the sky. Whoa. What the hell was that? Asked the white half in surprise. The black half merely chuckled and answered, I believe you got your wish just now. A few minutes ago. Faster, Ami-chan. We're almost there. Yelled Naruto as he urged the she-wolf to hurry towards Konoha. The she-wolf barked happily as her padded feet slapped against the ground, her legs carrying them through the village gates. Where is everyone? The place looks like a ghost town. Commented Balsa as she gripped tightly onto Ami-chan's fur, noticing the empty streets of Konoha. How about there? Asked Onababa as she pointed towards the massive coliseum. Huge. I bet the whole village could fit in there and then some. Ami-chan. Go towards the coliseum and step on it. Yelled Naruto. The she-wolf barked in confirmation and sped towards the massive coliseum. Shizuka's face was turning all shades of green as she bounced on the wolf's back. She weakly looked up and found that they were getting closer and closer to their destination. Too close. Slow down. Slow down. We are gonna crash. Tell Ami-chan to stop. She screamed out while trying to hold in her breakfast. Never. Ami-chan, jump. The blonde yelled out while pointing towards the sky. The wolf's eyes darkened, a fierce spark filling them as it leapt high up into the air, her paw pads slapping against the surface of the Colosseum's walls to bound even higher into the air. Hey. I think I saw a guy that looked like a Venus flytrap. Yelled Balsa as she held tight to the wolf. What? You see him too? Screamed Shizuka with swirls in her eyes, her ability to tell up from down now gone. Present time. The doctor was now prepped and ready to ring the gong, all that was required was to now push the big red button in his hand. The crowd eagerly awaited for the gong to be rung, the competitors as well as they all got into readied stances. Wait. Yelled Esdeath making her subordinate yelp and nearly dropped the remote in his hand before he could push the button. He looked at her wondering why she stopped him, she was looking up into the sky at something. He followed her gaze and saw a faint shape descending towards the arena. Boy. What's that falling down? Asked a random civilian as the crowd and competitors looked up towards the sky. A series of yells becomes audible as the unidentified object descends. Onababa. I blame you for this. You encourage this kind of behavior. Yelled a female voice in anger. You're blaming me? I didn't teach him anything about this. Yelled another feminine voice. The object was then identified as a silvery white wolf with crimson marking descending from the skies, and on its back were a group of people. One of them a very familiar blonde. Yo. Naruto. Uzumaki. Is. Baiaik. Yelled the blonde Jinchuriki down to the arena. Many possessing looks of shock at the blonde's grand entrance. In the daimyo's box, Honest's eyes nearly popped out of his head as he almost choked on some food he was eating. The child daimyo sitting in the throne had eyes as wide as dinner plates. Dr. Stylish cried tears as he screamed out what a stylish entrance. Esdeath however had a very pleased look on her face that Naruto had accepted her invitation. Things were now going to get that much more lively. She giggled as she traced the scar on her cheek which was now throbbing and itching all the more. The competitors in the arena cleared the center of the arena, believing the wolf would crash down to the ground, instead it landed on the ground without so much as a scratch or broken bone. It barked happily as Naruto leapt down and hugged the wolf's leg. He then turned his attention to the crowds and gave a victory sign. Then he pulled out his golden ticket from his pocket and yelled out towards esdeath, "I got your invitation. I am now here to participate esdeath." From her seat esdeath grinned in an almost feral manner. Her eyes shining with sadistic glee. From the daimyo's box, Kizashi leaned towards Honest and whispered, "The brat actually came back. We should have him arrested immediately, Honest-sama." The Prime Minister merely chuckled and replied, "Tempting, but I do not think esdeath would appreciate us spoiling her festival. Let her have her fun for now. Besides, this way we can get a better understanding on how to handle this boy." In response Kizashi reluctantly nodded, his eyes glaring at esdeath whom he considered nothing but a thug that does whatever the hell she wants. Back in the arena, Balsa and Onababa carried the now unconscious Shizuka towards the spectator seats so the Kunoichi could recover and they can cheer on Naruto. The blonde himself however was scoping out the competition with his chakra sensory, which he learned over the past 2 years among other things. Damn. There's nothing here but Chunin level jarheads. I don't want to show off my skills on this bunch of losers. "Oi, Ami-chan, you mind?" he asked the she-wolf making her bark then salute him, a grin seemingly stretching across her muzzle. Once this was done, Dr. Stylish rang the gong with a push of a button, making the competing Chunin break out into a massive battle. Jutsu exploded every which way, blood spatters appeared on the ground, it was mass chaos. "Oi! Naruto-kun!" yelled a familiar voice that belonged to one Iruka Yamino. The blonde groaned and wondered why for all his busted luck, his old academy teacher was participating here. This was not cool at all. Though on the upside he could have Ami-chan kick the scarred Chunin's ass. "Naruto. It isn't safe for you here. Just forfeit and forget about being in this festival," yelled the Chunin. The blonde said nothing, not even bothering to acknowledge the Chunin, since he was a negligent asshole anyway. "Ami-chan, kick some ass," the blonde commanded. The she-wolf barked in acknowledgement and then stood up on her hind legs, her front paws extended outwards, as though she were taking a martial arts stance. "Huh? What's with that weird dog?" asked Iruka as he tilted his head. In response the wolf growled ferociously since she could fully understand human speech and took great offense at being called a dog. With one quick swipe of her paw, she slapped the Chunin clear out of the arena and slamming into the wall just below the front seats of the spectators' stands. She growled and leapt forward using her hind legs to kick away the various Chunin, those that tried to attack her, she slapped away with her front paws or snatched them up in her mouth and shook them around till she heard something break, then tossed them aside like garbage. All the while Naruto was clapping his hands and enjoying the show. "Since when does a dog do martial arts?" screamed another Chunin who was slapped away by Ami-chan since he called her a dog. The gong rang again signaling the end of the round, the winners were then displayed on a screen, one of which being Naruto himself, since the wolf was his. In esdeath's private box she growled and bit her lip slightly since she didn't get a chance to see him in action. "Damn it. I wanted to see how strong he'd gotten. He let that wolf do all the work. I guess he's saving up for a more important matchup," she grumbled in disappointment. Then her subordinate Wave ran up to her and whispered something in her ear. A large grin formed on her face as she nodded in acknowledgement. She picked up her microphone and clicked it on announcing to her audience, "Everyone. It has come to my attention that some very special guests have just arrived to aid in making our festival much more entertaining. 4 cages have just arrived and have all volunteered to partake in the festival, they shall be a part of the Cage Summit event. The rules are simple, a competitor shall be chosen and shall fight a cage of their choosing. Then, they must last 10 minutes or defeat their selected cage. From here in Konoha, we have the Sandame Hokage, here is in Sarutobi. From Kiri, we have the newest cage, Mizukage Mate Terumi. From Kumo, the Reikage. From Iwa, the Tsuchikage Inoki. Regrettably the Kazukage has yet to arrive. I hope you enjoy the Cage Summit event." But that said, she clicked off the microphone and pointed towards the cage box, where the 4 cages were all seated, the crowd cheering in excitement and anticipation. She smirked and spoke to Dr. Stylish next round. "I want the Cage Summit event and Naruto to be selected." The doctor adjusted his glasses. "Not just yet. We can't let people get the idea that the selections are rigged and controlled. But I might have another idea around this to get the desired results for you." She crossed her arms and thought for a moment, she sighed then grumbled, "Fine. Make it snappy." With a nod the doctor rigged the roulette to land on a particular event type. Single duel. An event where 2 randomly selected shinobi shall duel head-to-head. Though in this case Naruto would be selected, his opponent would be randomized however from those of Jonin level or higher. "Excellent doctor. Now get it going," yelled esdeath in glee. The doctor nodded and pulled a lever to start up the roulette. It landed on the desired slot, causing esdeath to announce out to the crowd, "Single duel." This one is pretty self-explanatory. A simple one-on-one fight between 2 shinobi. Absolutely anything goes. Even summons are acceptable. Now, our first contestant is Naruto Uzumaki, representing himself. And his opponent, who's this Jiraiya guy? She asked at the end when she saw the randomizer results. Naruto sighed and took his place on the arena floor again. Ami-chan yawning and sitting off to the sidelines in case he needed her. An older man came running onto the field and shouted up at esdeath, who is Jiraiya. I am the author of the Icha Icha series. The man that women bow before. The man who is the envy of all ladies' men. I am Jiraiya, the Toad Mountain Sage. The general looked down at him for a few moments, then spoke into the microphone she was holding. Never heard of you. Who are you supposed to be again? At this the entire crowd laughed at the Sanin's expense. The frog user grumbled about those who had no respect for him, then turned to face the blonde who was casually cleaning out his ear with his pinky. Look Gaki, I know what happened to you 2 years ago. Revenge won't solve anything. Conquering Konoha won't help you feel better. The Sanin spoke as though he were trying to appeal to the blonde's better nature. Conquer Konoha? Oh wait, I did threaten to declare war 2 years ago. Ah well. Truth of the matter is I wasn't entirely serious. I don't want to conquer anything. I just want to live my life however I like. But the fattest up there gorging himself won't leave me alone. So I'm gonna kick esdeath's ass, then I'm gonna do the most terrible thing I can think of to the Prime Minister. He announced for all the Colosseum to hear. The reactions were mixed from amazed to horrified. The Prime Minister grit his teeth, thick veins popping on his head from the brat's audacity on making threats. Esdeath, however, her face remained impassive for a few moments and remained unreadable, but then her face twisted into a sickly sweet and sadistic smile. He wants to live as he likes. Doesn't want to conquer anything. Will kick my ass. Naruto Uzumaki, you astound me. I want to know more about you. More. More. Show me more of that exquisite fighting spirit of yours. You make me feel alive. She screamed in her mind, her heart racing in excitement at seeing her Naruto-kun show off a bit. Waiter Naruto-kun. Yes, he would make an ideal mate for her. She could feel it. In her heart and in her loins. There was no one else that could make her feel this way. The gong rang signaling the start of the match. Jiraiya got into a readied stance and spoke, you could forfeit, you know. I am an S-rank shinobi. Naruto chuckled and spit back, your S-rank. Standards have seriously dropped. The quip made the Sanin's face flush red from anger. And prepared a Rasengan in his hand, the blonde recognized the technique and smirked, then formed his own Rasengan. Wah? How, where did you learn that? That's an original jutsu by the Yondaime. Shouted the frog Sanin in a mix of anger and astonishment. Naruto merely chuckled and replied, wouldn't you like to know? He glanced over at Onibaba, who was sitting in a lotus position, one of her violet eyes twinkling from her mask's eyeholes. Jiraiya snorted and charged the blonde. The whiskered teen merely stood there with a smirk, then spoke, armament. Black Rasengan. His hand formed into an inky black color and his Rasengan followed suit, becoming an orb of black with a small bit of white in the core. The two orbs of chakra collided together, forming a powerful shockwave that was felt by several rows of spectators. Jiraiya's Rasengan was destabilized by the black one, causing it to implode, sending him flying across the arena. Just as soon as he regained his footing, Naruto had already covered the distance and kicked him in the groin. Many of the male spectators subconsciously clenched their legs together while cringing. Many female kunoichi cheered at what the blonde had accomplished, and they secretly hoped at least one or both of the frog Sanin's balls had popped. Wow. Bit unorthodox, but it is anything goes. Commented esdeath in amusement as she adjusted her cap. Jiraiya used every ounce of his willpower to keep from passing out. Naruto, however, retracted his leg from the Sanin's groin before a dark spot appeared in the frog user's pants. Oh my god. He pissed his pants. Yelled one Anko Mitarashi with a cheer, winking and blowing a kiss at Naruto for his accomplishment. Jiraiya, however, was not amused. You little shit. I won't forgive you for this. I'm gonna go all out now. He growled and flew through hand signs until he summoned two small elderly-looking toads on his shoulders. Oh great. You summoned a pair of frogs. I'm terrified. Spoke the Jinchuriki with a large cheeky grin. Frogs? How rude of you. We are toads. Yelled the male toad on the Sanin's shoulder, who felt completely insulted at being called a frog. Naruto scoffed, then quipped, frogs. Toads. Big whoop. I don't care what you are. You both live in ponds and you eat flies for a living. Besides, frogs have got nothing on a wolf. The blonde yelled at the end while pointing to Ami-chan, who barked in appreciation for her master's acknowledgement of how cool wolves were, especially if they knew martial arts. A dark cloud of gloom fell over the two elder toads as they muttered in unison, kids got a point. Boy. Ma. Pa. Don't listen to that asshole. Now back me up so we can teach this brat a lesson. The Sanin yelled so they may start assimilating nature chakra for him. The two toads sighed and began to absorb nature chakra. Oh. I get it now. You're planning on using Sage Mode. I heard about that. To initiate it, you got to absorb nature chakra, but you can only do it while perfectly still. To counter that, you have those two sit on your shoulders so they might absorb it for you. Not bad, but no dice. I'm not gonna give you the chance. Naruto yelled and dashed forward, ripping the two toads off of the Sannin's shoulders before he could react. The two toads struggled in the blonde's grip as he chuckled and spoke with a dark smirk, "This is the best you have to offer me? Seriously? I fought battle hard in Kunoichi, an entire village worth in fact, day after day after day. I literally had to single-handedly fight off an entire army. And I'm not really impressed by you. Seems your whole strategy revolves around your toad summons. TSK, relying on a single strategy is a surefire way to get yourself killed." Naruto whistled and threw the two toads up in the air. Ami-chan growled and leapt up to obliterate the two toads with a swipe of her paw. Yelling in panic, the two dispelled themselves to return home to safety. The toad Sannin growled in frustration and ran through hand signs again, planning to summon them back. "That won't work. I'll just do the same thing. You're just an old washed-up man that thinks he can play with the big boys." Naruto spoke to further push the Sannin's buttons in order to unbalance him. "Brrrrrrrrr. Shut up you fucking brat. I knew you were a mistake the moment you popped out of your fucking sociopath of a mother eye." The frog Sannin froze up when he realized what flew out of his mouth without realizing it. "Wait, what was that about my mother? You mean to say you knew her?" The blonde asked with a raised eyebrow, his eyes flashing crimson. "Oh, he knew her all right. In fact, he once tried to hit on her while she was pregnant. I guess he wanted to punch his V-card with a hot prego babe. Didn't work. He spent about 4 months eating his meals through a straw." Spoke Onababa as she chuckled darkly. The Sannin paled until his complexion matched that of his former teammate Orochimaru. "How did why you know about that?" asked the self-proclaimed super pervert in a tone that had horror dripping off of his tongue. "Oh. I know lots of things. Naruto-kun. Be a dear and end this pervert's life if you can help it. It's not like his life holds any meaning since he spends his days writing porn, it's not even good porn." The Hanyu masked woman spoke in a malicious tone. "Hey now. My life has meaning. I run a spy network for Konoha." Screamed the Sannin as though he were trying to reassure himself of his own non-existent value. "But you haven't really done anything with Suu, what is it you're famous for again? Losing a 3-on-1 fight against Hanzo? At least Tsuneda's earned her reputation due to her medical expertise. Orochimaru is famous for going rogue and developing his thrice-damned curse mark. But you're just riding their coattails. You Jiraiya of the Sannin, you are worthless." The masked woman spoke as she deliberately belittled the Sannin with sadistic glee. Something snapped inside the Sannin as he screamed out in rage, "Shut up. I am Jiraiya of the Sannin. I trained the Yondaime himself. And I will not be mocked by some masked whore and the bastard child of a sociopathic Kunoichi." He flew through his hand signs in a frenzy, then he summoned the boss of the toad summons, Gamabunta. The boss summons was confused for a moment when he found himself summoned in the middle of an enormous coliseum and spoke, "Oi now. Jiraiya, the hell did you summon me here for? You trying to show off or something?" Naruto however laughed and yelled up, "Actually, I think he summoned you here to kick my ass." The boss summons looked down and then spoke with a smirk, "So you're the little snotty tadpole that doesn't hold respect for us toads. Ma and Pa told me about you. Maybe now you're gonna show a bit of respect." "Hell no. Wolves are way cooler than frogs," shouted the blonde in defiance, much to the shock of everyone who couldn't believe the Jinchuriki had the stones to insult a boss summons. Ami-chan however barked in appreciation for what her master said. A thick vein bulged on Gamabunta's head as he yelled, "We are not frogs, you little shit. We are toads." The giant toad drew his blade, then swung it downward towards the blonde Jinchuriki. "Maybe you'll show some respect when I show you not to screw with us toads." Whoops. Looks like I overdid it. I didn't want to pull this out too soon, but I guess there's nothing for it. Kaioken. Naruto shouted as he was engulfed by a crimson aura. He leaped high into the air and kicked at the giant blade. A massive shockwave occurred, the very force of it causing the snacks and beverages of numerous spectators to fly up into the air. Even the cages were forced to hold onto their hats. "I will settle this in one shot. Kaioken times 2. Naruto yelled, the crimson aura flashing brighter. Then what many shinobi considered a miracle happened. The boss summon's blade shattered in half with a thunderous snap. The Jinchuriki surged forward and dealt a devastating kick to Gamabunta's stomach. The impact was so powerful the boss summons was forced off his feet. The giant toad then passed out from the blow, his pipe falling from his mouth as he dispelled. In esdeath's private box she laughed heartily and spoke into her microphone, "What a stunning victory. I declare this match officially over. Naruto Uzumaki is clearly the victor." Jiraiya looked up at the general and yelled, "What? That's bullshit. I can keep fighting." The general merely waved a finger from side to side. "Nope. I make the rules. And I believe you wasted a lot of chakra in summoning your boss summons. I declare that Naruto is the winner, and that's that. Now clear off my arena or I'll call my Jaegers to throw you out." She yelled down to him, hoping that he'd give her Yugurs an excuse to spill some blood. "I won't forget this," yelled the Sannin as he ran off in disgrace, much to the spectators' amusement. In the cage's box, Hiruzen was smoking his pipe, his gaze intensely focused on Naruto, still a bit immature. But still, deliberately upsetting and psychologically tormenting his opponent is a great strategy. And he has grown powerful enough to defeat even a boss summons. He's grown much on these past 2 years. He quietly spoke to himself. A small smile crossed his face as he realized that Naruto may be the only one that can save Konoha from itself. Naruto sighed and decided to sit next to the 3 Nade residents in the audience. "How's Shizuka-chan?" asked the blonde with a small smile. Balsa replied to him while sharpening her spear, still unconscious. Who would have thought that she'd get motion sickness on Ami-chan's back? I guess that last leap into the arena was too much for her. He nodded and then glanced at Onibaba and asked, how did you know that stuff about my mother? Could it be that?" Before he could finish his question, the Hanya masked woman put a finger to his lips to silence him. "Shhhhhhhh. Not just yet. Later. I promise, Naruto-kun," she whispered to him. Her violet eyes twinkling behind her mask. He slowly nods in understanding and allows for the topic to be shelved for now at least. In esdeath's private box, esdeath is conversing with Dr. Stylish. "Alright, doctor. We'll give Naruto-kun a break this time. Pull up the Feast of Fools. I don't care about who participates." The doctor nodded and started up the rigged roulette wheel until it landed on the Feast of Fools event. Then when the randomizer started selecting participants, one in particular stood out from the rest. That's odd. It would seem that one Leon has been chosen. "Say again, doctor." "I knew we have already registered Naruto-kun and his friends into the system, but they aren't supposed to be selected until after they arrive. There must be a malfunction," spoke the general as she adjusted her cap. "No. There's no malfunction. It says here that she has arrived and presented her golden ticket." The doctor spoke as he tried to troubleshoot the problem. "Then where is she?" yelled esdeath in irritation, not appreciating that her festival is being halted because of some technical error. Then for some reason a beat began playing from the speakers in the arena. "The hell? Is that a soundtrack we registered?" asked the general as she found herself tapping her foot to the beat. "Oh, look. There's someone up there," shouted a random civilian as he pointed up towards the top of the Coliseum. The others all looked about until they spotted a female figure standing up high. The figure tapped her foot and then began to rap into a stolen microphone. "Yo, say ho. This one goes out to my special one. My special honey bun. Yo, know my fame, know my game, know my name, don't be lame. The name's Leon, Dar Apin Feline Fighter, and I've got your number, son. I'm here to participate in this slaughterfest and prove that the gang night raid is the best. Hey esdeath, you bitch, I got a nice pitch. You best say a prayer cuz Naruto is gonna be your slayer and he's gunning for you, so you best sit tight while he makes all things right. Yo, freedom isn't free, that's a guarantee, but you'd best remember that the notion of a victory is not contradictory. Thanks for listening to my beats, now hold on to your seats cuz Leon's here to take the stage." When she finished rapping she dropped her microphone and the soundtrack stopped playing. "Wow, now that's an entrance," spoke esdeath in amusement. A grin stretched across her face because she knew this tournament was gonna be very interesting. This might be the most fun she's had in years. End chapter 5. What if neglected Naruto banished esdeath akame gakill end here, and thanks for watching my video till the end.